charts. Every number one from 83 to the press. Ow! Every number one on the orange owl. Every number one from 83 to the press. Every number one on the orange charts. Every number one from 83 to the press. Ow! Every number one on the orange charts. Every number one from 83 to the press. And 83 to the press. Wow! Yowza!
Hello, I'm Ben.
Hi, I'm Tom.
And you're listening to Sunglasses at Night podcast. It is the 2000s wrap up.
It sure is. This is the podcast where normally we go back through a year in history via the ARIA charts, looking at the number ones from the Australian Recording Industry Association for that year. But this is the end of the aughts, so we're doing our decade wrap up. And yeah, having a look back through time at what was still, looking back, a kind of confusing decade. I was talking about this to someone on the train the other day, and we were saying it's very easy to define the 90s and the 80s in terms of musical styles, but also fashion and stuff. There's a kind of look in that era. And I was saying I didn't really think there was one for the aughts. But
Were either too close?
She said, well, maybe we're too close. Like with the 90s, it took a while to, But yeah.
But I think you're right. It's sort of it's pretty easy to pin down the 90s and the 80s, but the 2000s, it's a little bit post. The start of it still has a bit of 90s leftover stuff, but then we're moving into a new direction because, the internet's getting more prominent. The internet didn't, that was really a late 90s thing where people started using that, so you started getting that.
Post-monoculture, so there's no one big thing everyone's obsessed with at the time other than, news, international news and stuff.
Yeah, but you're right. Fashions are like when people start doing 2000s Y2K parties or something, maybe that's okay, but if someone's doing, I'm doing a themed 2005 party, it's like, I was alive then, I've got no fucking idea what I should be getting involved with.
When I struggled back to think of what was in fashion I lived in Fremantle at that time, which was a fairly young population, so a lot of cool people, hipsters, and also just, people going to nightclubs dressed up and waiting in line outside, and even the stuff that I'm thinking of that they wore that was cool at the time, it was all throwbacks to stuff. There was 80s attire for the women. There was that brief period where they dressed like the bogans from my high school, where everyone wore skin-tight black jeans and artificially weathered Def Leppard shirts. There was the 70s rocker thing where all the guys started wearing Chelsea boots and tight jeans and boot-cut jeans and like scarves tied around their necks and shit. Yep. But all of this stuff is just rehashes of old things, like sometimes multiple rehashes.
I think what you're trying to say, Tom, is that there's been no innovations in fashion since the hypercolour t-shirt. Once that came along, fabric that could be two colours depending on the temperature, that was it. Since then, it's just all rehashing old shit.
Since they frosted that last tip,
exactly.
Men's fashion really hasn't done anything new.
Correct, yeah. So what happened in the decade? What are you going to tell me about?
Well, music-wise, I won't bother going through current events because it's a whole decade. Music-wise, Eminem became the best-selling rapper of all time and the most commercially successful artist of the decade across all genres. That really signalled the start, or if you will, the putting your foot down of hip-hop dominating pop music on through the aughts, 2010s and up to today. That was like, this is the style of hip hop.
Well, even pop songs will have that rap verse in them. So.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it doesn't mean that's the only thing that pop sounds like. It's just it took over from rock basically, which was in the 2000s. Whole new genres of rap opened up, including southern hip hop, crunk, hi-fi, alternative hip hop, dirty south, snap music, trap music, ringtone rap, backpack rap, microwave rap, underpants rap, playboy rap, thugged out ballads, and of course ho-wop, a genre that consisted of exactly one song, Fuck You, I Don't Want You Back by Eamon, which isn't technically rap or indeed music.
What's long term, do you see ho-wop being bigger than backpack rap?
I think if he's playing the long game, yes. I think it's coming back. It's probably, Some of those I honestly don't know what they even are.
I don't know what half of them are either, but certainly.
If you pointed a gun at me and said, Tom, what's the difference between snap music and trap music, I would probably struggle. What was your favourite of the hip-hop trends, do you think?
Well, I do like backpack rap just because I thought it was real fake, and then I watched that Kanye West documentary, and he used to perform on stage with a backpack.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was more like a sort of a metaphor for something, and then it turned out that it was also quite literal at times too. But I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say because I don't know all the names of the subgenre as well. But I sort of just I don't know. Things stand out, don't they? Like just certain rappers that are better than others, or sort of it's a sample-based music. So if you're doing interesting things with samples, that's
true.
probably more interesting than because once it gets a name like it's trap, then everyone else just goes, oh, that's what we're doing with that now. We're gonna do that sort of thing. So
I quite liked. Was a crunk? Is crunk the one that had crumping with it, or are they separate things? I mean, crumping was more of the dance.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm not sure whether that went with crunk or not, but crumping was around at that time. And I do remember that because it gave people an excuse to do really stupid dances at parties, which were quite entertaining. And sometimes, and there was a bit of a return, sometimes even to that the thing that I thought we'd lost with the people not doing breakdancing so much anymore, which was two straight guys with an elaborately choreographed two-person dance routine where one guy's swinging the other guy through the legs while they do the caterpillar and stuff like that, you know, and there's not enough of that on the dance floor. Sometimes it does require clearing the whole dance floor to let people dance in the middle, like it's fucking Dirty Dancing from the 80s or something, but, you know, if they've got a good routine, then go for it.
If you clear the floor, you better have a good routine.
Exactly. It's not the time to just bust out a bum press or something like that.
No, exactly. Can you imagine if in Dirty Dancing they cleared the floor and instead of doing the lift, they just broke out some sort of proto, Macarena or something? People would have just been throwing shit at them going, and it was the 50s as well, and even then they wouldn't have been impressed.
Yeah, my favourite hip-hop trend, though, of the aughts was ghost riding. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It was popularised by High Feaster E40's song Tell Me When to Go. If you're not familiar, it involves putting your car in neutral and then slowly rolling it down the street and then climbing out of the car and dancing alongside your car while it rolls down. If you want to lose an hour on the internet during a slow day at work, YouTube Ghost Ride the Whip fail. The whip being your car, which is basically just a bunch of people trying to film themselves ghost riding and crashing their cars into things.
Fantastic.
It's hilarious. So on the downside anyway, if you liked guitar-based pop stuff, you were in trouble during the aughts, let's be honest. The decade started with a whole new wave of shitty pop punk, even though the last wave of shitty pop punk was still putting out albums. The year 2000 saw the release of Blink-182's fourth album and Green Day's sixth album, for instance. Emo appeared and disappeared nearly as fast, although it did inject a much-needed dose of whining like a little bitch into the shittier forms of metal. If you weren't into that, you could choose from a slice of delicious fourth wave post-grunge from Creed, Stained, Puddle of Mud, Daughtry, Nickelback, Alter Bridge, Shinedown, Seether, Switchfoot, Splash Log, Bloodshot, Queef Leg, Rinse Nut, Shitwipe, or Three Doors Down. For people who like their new music from the same decade, metalcore took off just as everyone was getting thoroughly jack of new metal. Reawakened.
That's true.
Reawakened a general interest in all sorts of existing metal genres as well, like black metal, death metal, and thrash and stuff. And while that was happening, hard rock dinosaurs like AC/DC, Metallica, Aerosmith, and Bon Jovi were still putting out albums and filling massive arenas, as they continue to do to this day, in fact. In 2008, Guns N' Roses dropped the long-awaited album Chinese Democracy after more than a decade. There's really only three options when a work of art takes that long to arrive. James Cameron, looking in your fucking direction. Either it blows people's minds, like Fear Inoculum or something. It blows people's minds with how shit it is, like The Hateful Eight, say. Or everyone just goes, and goes back to Googling hottest new indie band starting with The, from, whatever's going around at the time. What was your favourite The band, Ben?
From this period?
I was a fan of The Vines, The Hives, The Shins, The Greats, The Radiohead, and The Anal Cunt.
Oh, yeah. That's a good question. I don't know.
That was like a 5-year period where if your band didn't start with you might as well throw your boot-cut jeans in the trash.
Yeah. Look, that's I'll have to get back to you on that one. Yeah, from that particular period, I'm sure there were so many of them though. The Vines though, they were great, weren't they? Because it was the guy was like, oh, Kurt Cobain's dead, so I could just pretend to be him. It didn't last that long though, did it? But
No.
He definitely, they definitely went full Nirvana though. So respect for
I quite
just
like
going
that guy,
all in
actually.
on something. Oh yeah, definitely.
He was legitimately bipolar. He was like undiagnosed bipolar, so he was just correct. So putting him on tour, like he just smoked heaps of weed every day, which has the usual effect it does on people with mental illness, e.g. temporarily alleviates it while making it much worse in the long term. So they would go on tour and he just couldn't fucking deal with people at all, as you couldn't. So when he was sort of flipping out on stage, that was just him legitimately flipping out.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. They were huge for a hot minute. They were the first band, they were the first Australian band on the cover of Rolling Stone since Australian crawled in 1986 on the cover of American Rolling Stone, I should say. So people thought they were going to be huge, but yeah.
It wasn't to be.
It wasn't to be. There's a MTV Music Awards from this era where there is not a single guitar note played through the entire 2 hours or whatever, and then for the final act they have the Hives versus the Vines.
Oh, good.
Like back to back, and they give them both like 2 minutes each to perform like cut down versions of their shortest songs, and the Hives definitely put in the better performance.
Yeah.
But the Vines get to trash the stage at the end. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Look, I'm glad you brought up Chinese Democracy, Tom, because Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, the double set, the I think Sweat and Suit Nelly style.
Yep.
They sort of preempted Nelly by a few years, but they came out in I think like 91 or 92.
Yeah.
So it had been a good 16 years, and you may recall that Pepsi at the time said if Chinese Democracy comes out before the end of the decade, if it doesn't, if Guns N' Roses drop Chinese Democracy before the end of the decade, we'll give everyone a free Pepsi, because they just assumed it wouldn't happen, and then it did happen. And had to give away heaps of Pepsis.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
That's how unlikely people thought that album coming out. I think this was it was either the UK or the US, but Pepsi went, okay, and they just get, if people, there was some sort of thing we had to go online and do some bullshit, but apparently you get a free Pepsi. So people didn't think it was coming out. You're right, it finally came out after fucking forever. Everyone just sort of went, it's okay, I guess. You've spent 15 years and purportedly $10 million on this.
I mean, it sounded like what you would think. It sounded like an album that might have been okay at some point, but had been overproduced to death by someone endlessly redoing it.
Definitely. It sounded like if you replaced Slash with a guy wearing a KFC bucket on his head. It sort of had that vibe.
Ironically, that's what it sounded like.
Definitely. I was just going to talk a bit about music distribution, Tom. Are you okay with that? Just for a quick second. So, it was an interesting decade, the 2000s, in the sense that in the year 2000, the CD obviously still reigned supreme as a format for albums and the CD single.
Yeah.
So 2000 was actually the highest year for CD sales. 2.45 billion CDs were sold in the year 2000.
That's more than I would have thought.
Yeah, so quite a lot.
I mean, that's still 1/3 of the population of the planet bought a CD that year. That's not bad, really.
Pretty good. So 2.45 billion. Napster launched in June of 1999. And the iPod came out in 2001, the original iPod, and those two things combined were clearly exactly the beginning and the end for the CD. So, because rather than people dropping $30 in Australia or probably $18 for an album that might have had 1 or 2 songs on it, all of a sudden you realised you could get those 1 or 2 songs for free by simply going online to Napster, which I think at its peak had 20 million users just getting free music. So that was crazy. So we obviously went from that shift from CD, digital downloads, initially illegally and then legally with the iPod, obviously, also the Apple store came along, the Apple Music store. Yeah. So people were buying shit off that. So then all of a sudden, same with Napster, you just got the songs that you wanted, put them onto your iPod, and off you went. So we went from the CD singles to CD singles and digital downloads, and by the end of the decade, pretty much, as we saw, the price of those CD singles for dog shit songs are all of a sudden like $5 or $10,
Yeah.
whereas previously they were like 3 cents, and that's because they just didn't make as many.
Yeah.
And yeah, Spotify then launched in 2006. And it took a bit of time for it to get going, obviously.
Yep.
By 2011, though, it had 1 million subscribers, and today it has 180 million paid subscribers. So, yeah, 2006, we were starting the streaming sort of thing.
And that kind of, in the space of 10 years, pretty much put up, that pretty much killed illegal downloading as
absolutely.
well.
And legal downloading. I don't think people really buy MP3s these days. So the MP3...
Gen Z don't. They just use
sort of came
YouTube
along.
or Spotify.
Yeah.
That's what,
so we sort of... Year 2000, MP3 is just sort of coming along as a way to purchase music. And by the end of the decade, it was basically over already because people had just gone on to streaming. So... This year, though, end of last year, 2021, in the US, 40 million CDs were sold. So, quite the drop from 2.45 billion.
Yeah.
But that was actually a slight increase for the first time in 17 years that there was a slight uptick in CD sales, weirdly. So that's sort of last year, 2021.
Okay.
So, a slight uptick. So, that's it. We've gone, and I think next decade, when we do the podcast, we're going to find that we're going to get to a point where there are no Discog things, because I think a lot of these physical copies from CDs aren't going to exist anymore. It's just going to be streaming. That's basically it. So.
And the charts will just be plays, whatever they define plays as being, or paid downloads, whatever that costs.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Even then, I mean, it'd be hard to track how you even count that. If nobody's buying music one song at a time anymore, then how do you even...
I think on the Billboard charts, 100 paid streams is equal to 1 purchase.
Yeah.
And 600 free streams, if you've got a Spotify free account or something, equals 1 purchase. So you've got to stream a lot of music to sort of get to
they
one
don't really equate, but I suppose you've got to measure it somehow, don't you? You have to arbitrarily pick something out of a hat.
Exactly. So that's the big change, because I think when we looked at the 80s, it was basically just 7-inch singles and singles, and the 90s was basically just CD singles for pretty much the whole time, and now we've sort of gone through that shift. So
one thing that did come back, though, that started to come back at the end of the aughts was vinyl.
Oh yeah,
vinyl started creeping back. I think I should have looked that up. There was a year which was the first year that vinyl sales increased since 1992 or something.
Yeah,
and I think that was in the aughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, vinyl sales are obviously quite big. So
it was really interesting to see that happen. Record shops started to sort of,
indeed.
Oh well, here you go. Another year. This year. Another year marks another high note struck by vinyl album sales. Vinyl sales in the US increased 21.5 million units in 2020 to 41.7 million units last year.
Okay.
So it almost doubled in a year. So they started creeping back at the end when it went from... It was only DJs for a while kept vinyl alive.
Yep.
And then hipsters, basically. People started wanting to have physical copies again.
Yep.
But not shitty, scratched pieces of plastic that lasted for however long you could keep them away from your little sister.
Exactly.
They wanted actual big things with cool artwork and stuff.
Yep. Cool. So that's that.
Yeah, I was just going to mention some records, music-wise. In 2001, J-Lo debuted at #1 in the Billboard chart and the R&B hip-hop chart with her first album and her film, The Wedding Planner, one of your personal favourites, I know.
My personal favourite.
Just quickly summarise the plot of that.
She's a wedding planner.
See? Way ahead of me.
But I think the wedding planner falls in love with the guy who she's planning the wedding for.
Of all the people she could fall in love with.
Or something along those lines.
And who plays that guy?
I've not seen it, Tom.
Someone who's got a huge amount of natural chemistry with her, I bet. Sorry. So she had a #1 in the Billboard chart and a #1 in the R&B hip-hop chart with her first album, and her film The Wedding Planner opened at #1, making her the first performer in history to have a film and album at #1 the same week.
Okay.
Not even Barbra Streisand or managed that, or Liza Minnelli or anything.
Wow.
The 2006 song Hips Don't Lie was considered the best-selling single of the decade.
Ooh.
And Shakira took it to #1 in the USA, UK, Australia and Latin charts simultaneously. Madonna's Sticky and Sweet tour in 2008-2009 became the highest-grossing female tour and the highest-grossing solo performer tour of all time, making $408 million in 85 shows, so getting towards half a billion. And that broke a record she'd set in the same decade twice already. So she had 3 times in the aughts she had the highest-grossing tours. Fergie broke some download records we can safely ignore. I think most 9-year-olds borrowing mum's credit card to download a song about blowing a dude for jewellery was one of them.
Good.
In 2009, readers of Billboard voted Best Album of the Decade as the 2001 release Invincible by Michael Jackson.
Oh, Jesus.
Which tells you everything you need to know about people in 2009 who were still physically reading something called Billboard. And in 2006, R&B artist Robin Thicke topped the R&B charts with Lost Without You.
Ooh.
That's a U, the letter U.
Oh, yep.
He was the first white artist to top these charts since George Michael.
Okay.
His album, The Evolution of Robin Thicke, went on to be certified platinum by the RIAA, which just goes to show that R&B is a bullshit genre and needs to get chucked down a hole. That's not a record, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Also, if Robin Thicke evolved, I can only wonder what he looked like beforehand. Guessing just sort of some sort of peanut with stubble on it.
I think so. Who's your favourite member of that family? Is it Alan Thicke or is it Robin Thicke?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, Alan Thicke was a horrible creep who starred in a bunch of shitty sitcoms.
Yep.
But then he didn't make me listen to anything.
Yeah, that's true. Look, I think, you know, as a Growing Pains fan, I think he played the dad well. So, the father to the Kurt Cameron character.
I think I kind of say what you like about Robin Thicke, but I do kind of like the inherent sweaty desperation of a man who drives his partner to break up with him and then regrets it so much he writes a whole pathetic album trying to win her back.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I kind of like that. I admire that more than I admire the Kanye West thing of doing some weird, you know, MRA incel album about how he's going to stab your boyfriend or some bullshit like that. At least the sweaty desperation is kind of heartfelt. It's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know,
no,
anyway,
respect to that.
It
sure.
didn't work, obviously.
No, it didn't. It didn't. So, but, you know, power to him. So, Tom, ARIA chart stats.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was waiting for that.
Number ones, 168 number ones in the decade. So there are 129 in the 90s, so a bit of a step up. So we've got more. Artists with the most number ones, Delta had 8 songs.
Yep.
We talked about her way too much. You probably already knew that.
Yeah,
most songs at number 1, Black Eyed Peas, 28 weeks. Fucking hell. Longest song at number 1 was Eminem, Lose Yourself, for 12 weeks. So, yeah, we already knew that. So, and in comparison, America, they had 129 number ones, so we had a few more than those guys at 168. UK had 275 number ones, so they're just fucking all over the place.
One-hit wonder.
They love a dog shit novelty song that sticks around for about 1 week.
do.
And New Zealand had 170, so about the same as Australia. So, interesting in the US, Usher had 7 number ones in the US over the decade, but he only got the one here.
Yeah.
That's the one that people liked.
Yeah, I can't even think of the other ones.
Westlife had 11 number ones in the UK. Fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
And in New Zealand, their favourite artist of the decade, Akon.
Dave Dobbin. Oh,
They love
Akon.
Akon.
Okay.
7 number ones for that
Fucking
dude.
hell.
Not quite sure why, but there you go.
Yeah.
Interestingly, 50 of the 168 number ones were Australian. So that was about 30%. About 1 in 3 songs is Australian. So that's up from the 90s where it was only 13%.
Wow.
So a lot more number ones from Australia this decade.
That's
and yeah, that was pretty good. And the other one was America, which had 90. So they were about over half of that. And then there were a heap of other ones with a couple UK, Sweden, Russia, New Zealand, etc., etc. From a genre perspective, pop, 40%.
Sure.
So most songs are pop. Doesn't surprise you. But you're right, Tom. Rock was way down. So it was 26% in the night. About a quarter of songs are rock
and
songs.
even then, I'm guessing this is a pretty charitable definition.
It was
of the
very...
term rock.
I think if it had guitars in it, I sort of
Yeah.
said it was, that. 2 songs, number 1 from a cartoon. So there you go. So that was pretty good in terms of artist type. Most number ones this decade were solo females. 40% were from solo females.
Okay.
Whereas in the 90s, only 19% were solo females. So pumped through. And that's probably explained by the fact that there are a lot of Delta songs, a lot of Kylie songs.
Yeah.
So
well, it was the singer-songwriter
Fergie,
thing.
Pink,
But
that sort of shit.
also a lot of hip-hop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Girl groups.
Yeah, that's pretty much that. One-hit wonders in the decade, there wasn't that many actually, so 20%. So 1 in 5 one-hit wonders. Same as the 90s, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And songs from TV shows, 15%. There were 24 of them from fucking X Factor and all that bullshit.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
That shit sucks. So there you go. There's some stats. But yeah, good to see that solo female up and Australian artists were up.
Yeah.
So, but negative to see that there was heaps of TV garbage and one-hit wonders. So yeah, but respect to New Zealand, Akon. I fucking love that guy there.
Well,
Who
he
knew?
showed up a lot here, but he was always doing stuff with other people. It was always featuring Akon, or they were discovered by Akon, whatever the hell we figured out that means.
Who the fuck knows? Absolutely.
Funded by Akon's Blood Diamond Mine or whatever.
Cool. So, should we have a look at some of those international number ones? Some of the tracks that didn't quite make it to number one here in Australia, but other countries just couldn't fucking get enough of. They loved it.
Yeah.
So, what do you got for me?
Okay, well, as previously, I covered Europe and the UK.
Yep.
First up, I had France, the Bratislava boys.
Ooh.
Stash.
What's that about?
That's spelled Stachstach. This song was first performed as a parody of the Eurovision Song Contest on the French TV show Morning Live, hosted by French comedian Michael Youn and his two friends, and broadcast on the M6. The lyrics, roughly translated, are as follows: Bing tiddle tiddle bong, bong tiddle tiddle bang, bang tiddle tiddle bung, bong. Oh, sorry. Those are the lyrics from Bing tiddle tiddle bong, which was a Monty Python song taking the piss out of Eurovision having nonsense lyrics in 1969, approximately 33 years earlier than this. Anyway, Michael Youn thought it was time for another crack with a Kmart synthesizer preset backbeat and lyrics that translate as Kurukuku rukuku stash dash kurukuku rukuku stash dash kurukuku rukuku stash dash. Now, if you're thinking, that doesn't sound like English, well, that's because it's not English or French. It's just made up bullshit and sort of nonsense onomatopoeia words.
That sounds fucking annoying as hell.
It is. I mean, it's clearly meant to be a joke.
Yep.
The video features three guys in blonde wigs and navy uniforms dancing around and gurning like crazy in front of a green screen. I think the idea is that this is a hit song discovered by a forgotten pop group made of Eastern European sailors from like the 80s, so it's sort of supposed to be like a ridiculous 80s Eurovision song, but I'm having to do a fair bit of reading between the lines there. I honestly can't tell if this is a good joke, a bad joke, or some sort of French in-joke that I'm missing out on. I mean, it could be that. Like, imagine trying to contextualise the much higher budget music video of the song Slap My Elbow by Chris Lilly's African-American character S-Mouse to someone from Zimbabwe, or indeed 2022. Anyway, fortunately the French are too discerning for a dumb joke like Stash Dash to go down as anything more than a momentary blip on the pop culture radar. So it only spent 6 weeks at number one. Then 3 weeks after that, it was back at number one for a week before it got knocked off by a song called Come Come Mania. Then it was back again for 3 more weeks, so total weeks at number one. Then 21 weeks in the top 10 and 31 weeks in the top 50. Then certified diamond and the 8th best-selling single of the 21st century in France with 800,000 units sold.
That's good.
So, yeah, the French really, they like a dog shit novelty song as much as the UK.
They do. It's sort of, in many ways, Tom, the channel... Culturally, it doesn't separate a lot, does it? I know the French like to feel that they're more sophisticated than the British, but sure, they've got better cheeses probably and a baguette and all that sort of gear, but when it comes to novelty songs, it seems that both sides of that channel, they love the same shit.
They are responsible for, I think, perhaps the worst novelty song of the last 100 years in my mind, which is that one with the baby that was just pushing a 4-year-old out on stage and making him rap, that was, maybe the worst thing I've seen
Definitely.
music-wise. What have you got?
Cool, Tom. Well, we've talked about this briefly before, but I thought it
You're
would be...
doing...
I'm doing New Zealand and America. So this one's out of
yeah.
New Zealand. So look, it would be remiss of me, Tom, not to mention it in a little bit more detail. And that's, of course, Cisco with a thong song. So
Sure.
straight off the bat, I just want to say that this appeared in Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps. So you know it's good.
Yep.
And you know where I first... Can you remember, Tom, where you were the first time you heard the thong song? Is that sort of something that you...
I think I can remember where I was the first time I saw the video.
The thong song, yeah.
Although it wasn't as pervy as I was hoping, if I remember correctly.
I remember I was in Brisbane, Tom, and I remember seeing a cover band perform this twice in their set, which speaks more to the quality of the song than the quality of the band, I think. This was produced by the songwriting production duo The Funk Twons. Tim Kelly and Bob Robinson. Is
The
that
Funk Twons?
The Funk Twons?
Okay.
Funk Twons. Is that the worst production team name we've had yet? There's been a few like The Matrix and a few other of that, but the Funk Twons is
Not great, is it?
just going. Oh, what do you do? Oh, me and my friend here, we're music producers. Oh, cool. Yeah, we call ourselves the Funk Twons. It's just there's no need.
Twins, did you say?
Funk
No,
Twons.
the Funk Twins.
There's no need. You can just call yourself your names. When you're a production duo, not everyone has to be Pharrell and that other dude and be, we're the Neptunes. Not everyone has to do that. You can just say, I'm Steve and this is Mike and we do some fucking song production. So, look, it's definitely the worst. In 2008, Cisco released a holiday book for children titled Cisco's Perfect Christmas. Now, is it a wise move to buy a book for your kids authored by a dude who wrote the thong song? I don't really know whether when you look at the lyrics, I don't know whether these got into the Christmas book, but she had dumps like a truck, thighs like what, baby move your butt, I think I'll sing it again, dumps like a truck, thighs like what, all night long. Let me see that thong. It's just that. Do you want those lyrics in a kid's book? I don't think you do. So look,
I would like to hear the Christmas version of the thong song.
Yeah, I don't know if there is one, but I'll find his Christmas book and we'll see if hopefully that'll be available on eBay at some sort of price. He's not a one-trick pony though.
No.
He's a very, very versatile artist, is Cisco. He's done a lot of great work. And I think it's really nice when you see an artist grow. So
yes.
Obviously 2001, I think was this. This is really early on I didn't write the year down, but in the 21 years since that, so in 2021, he released a track called La Thong, which is just a Spanish language song of the thong. So a lot of artist growth in those 21 years. So
yeah, he's really...
One's called Thong Song and the other one's called La Thong. They're completely different things. So salute to Cisco for growing as a person and an
He's
artist.
really taken the Lou Bega route, hasn't he?
He has. Yeah, definitely.
Environmentally friendly musical recycling.
Yeah.
Oh,
it is good.
I like to think that Cisco was well ahead of his time by pioneering a very popular now style of rap where there's just no melody or any sort of song really.
Nah.
It's just kind of vague noodling and someone crapping on.
Absolutely.
But you keep waiting for the actual song to start, but it doesn't. It just never arrives. Like a bus at a stop that's not running anymore.
Yeah, so Australia said not quite good enough for us. I think it reached the top 10, but not number one. But New Zealand, they pumped that shit to the
It got
top
a
of the
fair
charts.
bit of play. The video showed up a lot, unsurprisingly.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely. All right, Tom, what do you got for me? Are you staying in Europe or are you heading to the UK now?
I'm staying in Europe,
Yep.
but we're flying around. We're taking a rail pass.
Yep.
This is Limp Bizkit, Behind Blue Eyes.
Fucking oath.
Taken from Limp's second album, Results May Vary. I think the results were pretty consistent whenever I tried to listen to it. But yeah, this cover of the Who original reached number one in the Czech Republic and Sweden, plus number two in Denmark, Norway and Germany.
Yeah.
You're a well-travelled man, Ben. What do all those countries have in common, do you think?
Oh, Jesus. To get this to number one, it's really hard to say. I thought the Swedes had better taste in music, personally, but I'm not sure.
Think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, there is one common link.
Yep.
None of them use the English language as their native tongue, and neither does Fred Durst, which clearly explains his delivery of the vocals here.
Yeah.
In 2011, Rolling Stone readers voted this the second worst cover song of all time.
Oh. What was the worst?
Well, let me ask you this first. Does voluntarily voting on a Rolling Stone poll in 2011 mean you have less authority on music than most human beings?
Yeah.
Or more authority to discuss shit music than other human beings?
Oh, yeah, I think it's probably the latter. I think if you're reading Rolling Stone and that's your source of music news in 2011, then you're probably well-versed in terrible music and therefore have the right to deem what is indeed terrible. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I can't argue with this song's placement at number 2, but otherwise their top 10 is as uninspired as you'd expect. Any guesses?
For number 1, is it another Limp Bizkit cover?
Well, it probably could be, couldn't it?
Is there any Eurobeat covers of things? Like,
no,
that's
it's
a shame.
all kind of lame. We've mentioned a couple of them before, but they're none of the interesting ones. Number 1 is Miley Cyrus doing a Smells Like Teen Spirit at some concert.
Oh.
Dodgy, sure, but it wouldn't even crack my top 1,000. Like, it's not even that bad of a performance. 3 is American Pie by Madonna.
Yeah, not
okay,
great, but yeah.
fair enough. 4 is Sweet Child of Mine by Sheryl Crow, which isn't even bad. It's just not as good as the Guns N' Roses version. Nowhere in the top 10 are you going to find Meryl Bainbridge and Shaggy doing I've Got You, Babe. Zombie by ADAM featuring Amy.
Yeah, that's one of the worst.
Fall Out Boy doing Love Will Tear Us Apart. The celebrity lockdown version of Imagine. Take That doing Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is far worse than the Miley version. 911 is a Joke by Duran on live TV. My Generation by Hilary Duff. Back in Black by Shakira. You Shook Me All Night Long by Anastasia and Celine Dion. The Sound of Silence by Disturbed, which I legit originally thought was actually a joke. Do You Think I'm Sexy by Paris Hilton, or the 1999 Pop Lounge Covers Collection Fad, or the 1999 Pop Ska Covers Collection Fad. In short, Rolling Stone fail so hard they can't even contemplate failure properly, I'm thinking.
Look, there's nothing worse than a ska cover of a pop song. I think for me that is about bottom rung. We haven't talked about it a lot, but I think if anyone that's like, I'm a ska band, I can't remember who it was, but some ska cunts did Take On Me, and it was terrible. It was really,
there was
really
enough
bad.
ska in the charts at this point. Anyway, they're already having a comeback. They didn't even need to start ruining other people's songs.
Yeah, that Paris Hilton cover of Do You Think I'm Sexy is pretty rough. That was at a period of time when Paris Hilton was... they'd let her do anything. They're like, I want to do an album. It's like, can you sing? It's like, I can't, but let's let you do it. And I remember reading at the time that Paris was apparently just hanging out with her friend at the time, Rod Stewart's daughter. They're friends. And then Paris just went, wouldn't it be funny if I covered this? And I'll ask my dad, and he went, oh, that would be funny. And then I think Rod was thinking, I'll get some royalties out of this, so that would be amusing / I'll make money off this. But terrible.
Yeah, I was glad to see that list because it gave me an excuse to look up the video for Zombie by AD featuring
good.
Amy.
She's definitely finger blasting herself in that car.
It starts
goes without
with a
saying.
woman finger blasting herself in a hatchback in a car wash, and then
And
it
the
goes,
dude jumps out of the boot.
then it's kind of like a very low budget Prodigy video.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, unfortunately, to get back to Fred Durst, the song is dumb as hell. The original Who song, Behind Blue Eyes, is a half-joke song written from the point of view of Jumbo, the bad guy of an unfinished psychedelic sci-fi rock opera called Lifehouse, which is where the band got their name.
Did they?
No, just kidding. That would have been too interesting for Lifehouse.
I didn't see that coming. I was like...
But yeah, it was going to be a follow-up to Tommy Boy. Not a follow-up, another musical, because that was such a big success.
Yeah.
If Limp Bizkit had done a sort of wiki faith-style cover of this nonsense, it might have actually risked being fun. So instead, Fred, old Blue Eyes Durst, decided to do a dead straight, over-serious arse-hat version inspired by jacking off to a mirror in a starter cap. This level of onanistic tough guy, no one understands my pain, horseshit hadn't been seen since the second wave of grunge, and exactly 0 people were demanding it make a comeback. On top of everything else, given that their next album was Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavoured water, this would have been the perfect time to rename this song Behind Brown Eyes.
I think so, absolutely.
Look, on the plus side...
Yep.
This is a movie song.
Oh,
believe
is it
or not.
good?
Have you got any guesses?
Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps? No.
It's actually less remembered than that. It was the world-renowned supernatural thriller Gothica with a K, starring Halle Berry. Not only that, but Durst somehow persuaded her to appear in the music video and pretend to be into him.
Oh, jeez.
Now, some people have criticised Berry for winning an Oscar for a classic never go full retard character and then appearing in films like Swordfish, Catwoman and Die Another Day. But if anything proves you can act, it's standing next to Fred Durst and without bursting into hysterical laughter at his puffer vest alone.
Yep.
But yeah, so, I take my hat off to her for that. But
yeah. Look, it's interesting because I think it's safe to say that you're right. If they had have done a shitty, DJ Lethal on the
just
We Get a Whack and a new
high energy,
it would have still been shitty. But at least you would pick it because that's his bread and butter. He can do a crappy rap and a bit of a scream and an angry sort of smash something up song. And it's not for me, but in that role, he plays that perfectly. When he tries to do, anything else, I'm gonna actually try and sing, or I'm gonna try and be a serious. Like he doesn't have the talent. He's abysmal.
No.
So, and I've seen him try and do it on a couple of other covers. I think where it's just I'm just gonna sing straight down the barrel and do a proper.
It's looking really serious. He's sitting on a chair. It's black and white. There's way too many close-ups of his face, looking all moody and shit. It's just dear.
Exactly. It's it's when gimmicks try and go straight and it doesn't really work out well. I don't think try and play it straight. So it's terrible.
What have you got?
Oh look, Tom. Up next, I'm back in New Zealand. Scribe. Not many.
Scribe.
Not many, if any. Now. People often shit on Australian hip-hop, Tom, and rightfully so, as it's almost universally terrible. But is it really our fault? We're a long way away from the birthplace of hip-hop. We're not, near New York City, Brooklyn. Maybe, just maybe, you need to have that proximity to the scene to be part of it, Watch the masters in action, learn from that, grow up, take the skills that they've laid down and then sort of do your own thing. Well, Scribe blew that theory out of the water with the song Not Many, the quintessential New Zealand hip-hop track, better than anything to ever come out of Australia. And, he's obviously from New Zealand and he's really far away from Brooklyn. He's even further away from Brooklyn than what we are. But so he's demonstrated that Australian hip-hop's just terrible because everyone here doing it is fucking awful. So Hilltop Hoods, that's appalling. Anyway, raises a question, Tom. How many dudes roll like this? How many dudes flow like this? How many dudes have got the skills to rock a show like this? I don't know anybody. So
not many.
Scribe raises that question exactly, and he raises it repeatedly because it's a catchy hook. It gets things going. So look, this is a good song. This is my favourite hip hop song out of New Zealand ever. So there's probably I don't know if there's any more. But Scribe unfortunately became addicted to drugs, alcohol and gambling between 2005 and 2007. Following lackluster sales of his second album, Rhyme Book, the addiction led to his family denying him access to money, and he decided to pawn off the Platinum Awards he'd won for this album, which is sad. And in 2018, Scribe was in prison for 2 months after breaching his curfew and performing. He was released in October 29th, 2018. He was later due in court for methamphetamine possession and breaking a protection order. But he's back now, Tom. He's back. He's put that beside him. He's performing with his father and his brother. At the end of 2021, he performed in front of 25,000 people. So that's pretty good.
That's good.
And look, this is what Scribe said. If you looked at my career, there's a great start, then a fucking horrible middle, but how it ends is up to me. So words to live by.
True. Yeah.
So power to Scribe. He's really only got this one song. So when he performs in front of 25,000 people, I'm not sure how he's filling in the rest of the set. Maybe Lou Bega style. He's trying to steal something from the Scat Man.
I suspect, like OMC before him, that the hometown knows others of his song. But yeah, I mean, this really was big. It was in a Nike commercial. I remember that, which is, that's a pretty good sign of how well you're doing.
Yeah, it was number one in New Zealand for, I think, 12 weeks, I think, as well. So quite a long time.
Yep.
Fantastic. Cool.
Oh, okay. What do we got here? 2003, we're going to the UK for Busted. Who's David? Now, are you familiar with Busted?
I'm not. It sounds good, though.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, this was a number one hit in the UK and did fuck all anywhere else. In case you missed out on the Busted story, don't be alarmed because they were pretty much a UK-only phenomenon.
Yeah.
Although they were pretty successful within those limits. In a 2-year period, they had 2 massive albums, sold 5 million records, had 4 UK number 1 songs, plus a bunch of other top 10 hits, and then pretty much vanished.
Yeah.
They reformed later, but 10 years later on the sort of nostalgia tour. If you haven't heard of Busted, let's say you're a Green Day fan and other punk fans are giving you shit and saying, those guys are pop punk, they're from the 90s, they're fucking derivative bullshit, then you can always chuck on What's My Age Again by Blink-182 and say, I think you're confusing Green Day for this bullshit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, across the room, a chick is rocking out to Blink-182 that you just put on, and her friend sneers at her and says, hey, this is just overproduced commercial pop. It's for punk for 14-year-old girls. And then she can chuck on some Avril Lavigne and say, no, that's what this shit is.
Yep.
And downstairs in the rumpus room, an Avril Lavigne fan is humming along while bedazzling a pink lightning bolt onto her pencil case with child-friendly craft glue. And on FaceTime, her friend rolls her eyes and says, Kevin, you're 28 years old. Haven't you grown out of Avril yet? You know, she's AI-programmed dog shit for primary school girls who identify as edgy. And Kevin adjusts the strap on his indoor safety helmet and says, no, you're thinking of Busted. And Kevin's friend says, who? And, that's basically the Busted story.
That's good.
I think I've brought up previously the line between vocalists doing an American or a translanding accent, as was common across the Western world in pop until quite recently. It was just de rigueur. If you're going to sing in pop music, you do an American accent, regardless of where you're from. But there's a line between that and then just straight up doing an impression.
Yeah.
Like doing, the way someone just imitates another human being. Well, this is 3 British teenagers with frosted tips pretending to be a SoCal punk band. From their name to their lyrics, everything alludes to experiences they didn't have, schools they didn't go to, girls that don't exist via phrases copied from TV, outfits and haircuts copied from teen movies set in another country, and shitty, fake-ass accents copied from Good Charlotte.
Great.
It's frankly enough to make you embarrassed on their behalf, or it would be if they weren't smirking little pieces of shit who wrote their own songs and made heaps of money off horny 13-year-olds. Who's David was their 3rd number 1. It came out in 2003, the same year that they won the Disney Channel Kids' Choice Awards.
Good.
Here's some Kids' Choice lyrics. You've always been this way since high school, flirtatious and quite loud. I find your sense of humour spiteful. It shouldn't make you proud. And I know your pretty face gets you far with guys, but your makeup ain't enough to hide the lies. Are you sure that you're mine? Aren't you dating other guys? Because you're so cheap and I'm not blind. You're not worthy of my time. You're just some whore who sleeps around the town. And I've got proof because the word's going around. You left your phone, so I invaded. I hated what I saw. You stupid lying bitch. Who's David?
Oh,
I don't know, dude. Maybe some guy who's not a little fucking incel pussy that goes through his girlfriend's phone when she's taking a shit.
Yeah.
Just in case you thought America was the only country producing AMRA anthems for future workplace shooters, the UK had to go with it with these fucking twats. Oh my god, they're so annoying, seriously. It actually, legitimately, going through their stuff made me glad that they never made it over here, so I didn't have to listen to them. But, yeah.
Well, that sounds absolutely appalling.
It's terrible. It makes you appreciate Avril Lavigne, I shit you not.
I mean, pop punk's pretty bad at the best of times, so once you're on sort of some D-tier shit, then I can only imagine how bad it is. Yeah.
Especially, it kind of relies on stuff like Blink-182 and even things like Green Day. They rely on there's a sort of assumed sense of humour on behalf of the band that, hey, we all know pop's kind of dumb, and this is all a bit of a joke, but yeah.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any sense of humour and you just sort of just smirking at nothing, or, it just, oh boy, it's awful. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, that was the 3rd of their 4 number 1 hits. Their 4th number 1 hit was the title track for a film that I'd completely forgotten even existed, which was the big-budget live-action Thunderbirds movie. Do you remember that happening?
No.
That was during that period where they did, Lost in Space movie and all these shitty TV shows. They tried to make a big-budget Fantastic Four-style Thunderbirds movie. Yeah. Jeez. Weirdly enough, with these guys behind it.
And the song went straight to the top, though. Straight to the top of the charts.
That's right.
Wow, that sounds appalling. What are they doing now, Tom? Do you know, or are they dead?
Well, as
Hopefully,
I
or broken
said,
up?
they reunited in the last decade.
Okay.
And they did big concerts, and you look at the audience and there's all these people who look like depressingly young people. I guess that's because they were only 12 when they were listening to it the first time round, so now they're only 25.
Yeah.
So they look too old for this shit though, but, singing along and...
Absolutely.
the guys are still handsome. They were teenagers when they did this, and they did write their own songs and play their own instruments. But if the end result of that is that you sound like a bunch of fucking incels, then I'm not sure if I'd be too proud of that.
No, not at all. It sounds trash.
Yeah, no, please, what have you got?
Tom, I'm still in New Zealand, and we're coming at you with Chingy right there. I like it when you do it right there, right there. Swing your hips, walking you not down your hair. The problem is when you say right there, you say right there, then all the words that rhyme with there, like hair, you also got to go her. Is Chingy the finest rapper of all time?
Well, I think didn't Flo Rida also pioneer that technique?
Oh, I think so. Flo Rida loves a bit of that shit too. So, look, Chingy, finest rapper of all time. It's up for debate. Let's look at the evidence. The album Chingy Jackpot featured this song, right there, Holiday Inn with Snoop Dogg. Get down at the Holiday Inn, if you remember that. Classic. The emotional hip-hop ballad, One Call Away, which was very, very emotional. A lot of mobile phone product placement in that. Sure. If you're going to have a name of the song One Call Away, then that's perfect, because in the video clip you can be like, well, it's about being on the phone, so I can be on the phone all the time in the video clip and then show that phone to camera, so I can make a lot of money on product placement. And of course the title track, Chingy Jackpot, which was talked about before. The timeless lyric, Chingy, why your eyes so chinky? Is it because you've been smoking and drinking? You complete me, wine me, dine me, take me home and eat me. That's what the chick says. So it's that's great. It's really, really good, because it's about getting eaten out by Chingy and some sort of casual racism there as well, which is pretty nice.
What nationality was Chingy?
He's African American.
He is? Okay.
So, yeah. So he's not Asian in any way, shape or form. So... but his eyes look so chinky, Tom, because he was stoned out of his head, you see. So I don't know whether he could perform that these days. I'm not sure whether that would roll. We have discussed that briefly before. But look, unfortunately, he couldn't recapture the magic of the Chingy Jackpot album on his follow-up, Tom. Do you know what his follow-up album was called? Powerballin'. So... I'm not sure exactly what Powerballin' is, whether it's a reference, maybe
tribute to playing the lottery,
playing Powerball or whatever. But he was Powerballin' on that follow-up album. Unfortunately, none of the songs on Powerballin' were Powerballin' enough, and the people weren't really feeling it. But he achieved all that he needed to on Chingy Jackpot. Obviously, so he didn't really have to worry too much about the Powerballin' failing. In 2013, he announced his departure from the mainstream rap game, Tom, as he'd found religion and became a practicing black Hebrew Israelite. So that's
so he converted to Judaism.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So I don't really know too much about the black Hebrew Israelites, but I just figure that Chingy's obviously the perfect ambassador for that movement. So good times.
Well, much as the Scientologists have Tom Cruise, the black Hebrew Israelites have Chingy.
They do have Chingy, absolutely, for sure. So, but if he's going to recruit people for the movement, he might struggle in the Asian countries if they have a quick look at some of his past lyrics.
The fact that his musical recording title sounds like a racist insult might hamper him slightly.
Yeah, it might hamper you a little bit. So that's New Zealand. The next one I'm going to do, Tom, after you've done yours, I'm going to be moving to America, but I just wanted to do a special mention to New Zealand, just a special shout out. So, as you recall, several weeks ago on the podcast, probably the low point of the podcast for me personally, and probably many, was Crazy Frog, Axel F.
Yes.
Which spent, I think, 3 weeks at number one in Australia, which is effectively a ringtone done by an animated frog.
Yes,
Well-
I ruled it out for my worst song of the decade because it's not a song, really.
Well, I did also as well, because you're right, Tom, because effectively pop music is very... People say that pop music is disposable and it's just a commodity,
Yes.
but a lot of pop music, well, most pop music, someone's had to write the song, they've had to do the lyrics, they've had to produce it. Some of it is very disposable, but some of it is very well-written music that stands the test of time, and great pop songs are art,
Yeah,
pieces
they
of
certainly
art.
can be.
Crazy Frog, Axel F, is the complete opposite of that. It is just a product for sale, given that it's a cover of a song that already existed anyway, and its sole purpose is to make money. There's no artistic integrity within it whatsoever. So I had to also rule it out for my worst of the decade, just based on... Because it is a fucking awful song, but it really doesn't qualify. I feel it would be unfair to give it such an award. Anyway, so we had to deal with that for 3 weeks, I think back in 2005. New Zealand, Axel F was number one for 11 weeks, Tom.
Wow.
Which is a full 3 calendar months.
Oh my God.
The only thing that prevented it being the longest number one song of the decade was Scribe, as we previously mentioned.
Well done.
But the
Scribe.
New Zealand public, there for 11 weeks, and then it finally got knocked off the charts by, I think it was a Rihanna song.
Oh, okay.
So Rihanna finally knocked Crazy Frog off the charts, but the New Zealand public said, no, we demand more Crazy Frog. So after 1 week of Rihanna, the follow-up single, Popcorn, Crazy Frog's chilling rendition of that went to number one.
Wow.
For a couple more weeks. But then that was it for New Zealand. Oh, no, it wasn't. They also jumped onto the Last Christmas train, Tom. So when Crazy Frog released his Christmas album, the New Zealand public went, we fucking need a piece of that as well. So Crazy Frog had 3 number ones in a calendar year in New Zealand, spending a total of about 4 months at the top of the charts.
This is making me feel slightly better about our 3 Black Eyed Peas number ones from within a 2-month period at the end of last year. Yes, that's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, and usually that shit is reserved for the UK, where they seem to just go in for fucking anything. But
well, they did produce. Did they produce?
I'm sure they weren't complicit in this. I think they probably were involved in some way. So yeah. Anyway, so I don't want to mention Crazy Frog anymore.
No, please.
It's terrible. All right, what do you got? We're back to... Where are you to?
We're back to the UK.
Yep.
It's 2004. Peter Andre, Mysterious Girl.
Fuck yeah.
Now, this song was the 3rd single from Peter's second album, Natural. It came after all those other singles he had, like, those other ones.
Was this a re-release? Because this originally came out in the 90s.
Yes. Well, that's the interesting story.
Oh, good.
This got to the top of the charts in New Zealand, was number 8 in Australia, and peaked at number 2 on the UK singles chart. However, following a lengthy campaign on DJ Chris Moyle's show in 2004, you might remember Chris Moyles from the first episode of Stuart Lee's Comedy Vehicle. He wrote the Chris Moyles toilet book that gets discussed in detail. And following Andre hooking up with Jordan on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, the song was re-released as the first single from Andre's 4th studio album, The Long Road Back, peaking at number 1 in February 2004. So, yeah, you're the one-hit wonder expert, Ben.
Yep.
So my question to you is, does a one-hit wonder count if you have a hit with it twice, 8 years apart?
Yeah, I think that still makes him a one-hit wonder. Technically, it's still the one song.
Yeah, it's whether you put the emphasis on the one or the hit, I suppose. But yeah,
definitely, yeah. I mean, I think if it hits twice, I mean, you look at something. Yeah, I mean that's probably a rarity, but probably more so in the UK where they love novelty shit. But look, great to see that it hit number 1 twice. I think massive respect to Peter for that. Massive respect to Peter Andre for somehow remaining relevant sometime later. Relevant enough that Jordan said, this dude looks okay. But Jordan doesn't usually make the wisest decisions, I don't think.
Let me put it this way. I would say that Peter Andre in 2004 was every bit as relevant as Peter Andre in 1996 was.
I think so, yeah.
However you measure relevance, I would say he maintained that level of relevancy.
Definitely.
In case anyone gives a shit that I may have talked about Sabrina quite a lot after the 80s rap, I might as well point out that the video clip for this is just 100% female gaze. It's just hot, young, multiracial dudes flopping around in the surf on a tropical beach. I think it was sponsored by the Fire Island Tourist Board or something.
Yep.
In addition to abs you could do a laundry on, Andre is also rocking a haircut I'm calling the male Rachel, which is a sort of greasy, mid-length, centre-part fringe, which immediately took off among the Links Africa community after this video came out the first time. And then probably the second time, let's face it.
Yeah.
But does it matter in 2004 or 1996 when this was originally released? I mean, let's face it, a quality pervy video is timeless. Nobody watches 4 minutes of hot young people churning up the surf and comes away thinking, these board shorts look a bit dated. You know?
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, I think they went right with that. They didn't try to portray him as a librarian who turns out to have abs. They just went, no, let's just go straight for the abs. So, yeah.
That's good. Look, that's a great song. I'm glad that we got to talk about that finally, and Peter Andre generally, but...
It's actually not as bad as I remember.
No.
It's kind of vaguely catchy in a sort of lazy pop reggae style.
I'd have to say, though, that Peter Andre's best work in that decade was definitely when him and Jordan decided to do a cover of A Whole New World. I think that was really the high watermark of Jordan's music career.
Celebrated their wedding or something?
I probably did, yeah, definitely. So, good to see Jordan had a recording career at some stage as well, you know, even if it was with the husband.
It was also, I was very happy that, I mean, a lot of people had expected that they would have a very low-key, you know, behind closed doors wedding ceremony, but at the last minute they must have had a change of heart because they did allow photographers into their wedding, which is a good thing so that we were allowed to witness perhaps the classiest wedding of all time since
no
Kyle Sandilands hooked up with his latest staff employee 15 years younger than him at the Nova wedding and, you know, kebab shop opening ceremony that he was doing a live show from while getting married in the background. So, yeah, it was classier than that, certainly.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Look, I'm sure Jordan had a very tasteful wedding dress with no cleavage whatsoever, and I'm sure Peter wasn't wearing some sort of translucent shirt so that his abs could be shown off. I'm sure it was very, very tasteful.
I think the Jennifer Lopez-style wedding planner said that the key word they were looking for was pinker than the Barbie aisle at Kmart.
Okay.
That was the watchword for the whole thing. So, yeah.
Fantastic. That's good. Cool, Tom.
Oh, please, up to you. Where are we off to now?
I'm taking a trip to the US of A, Tom, where for, I think, 2 solid weeks we got probably the high watermark for my mind of rap rock, Tom, and that's Crazy Town's Butterfly.
Oh,
come, my lady, come, my lady, you're my sugar pie, sugar baby. Now, it's hard to pinpoint the lowest ebb of rap rock, but Crazy Town's first 2 singles, Toxic and Dark Side, must be close. Toxic, where he does like a full, like D-tier Fred Durst impersonation, which is no good.
I must have missed it.
Yeah, it was awful. Most people, I think, only know them for this song.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know they had a harder edge.
they certainly
edge.
do.
Okay.
They have an edge that's sort of like an off-brand Limp Bizkit, I guess, and then this is one of their softer numbers. So, look, fortunately, they turned around the dog shit from Toxic and Dark Side for this single, where they stripped out all of the rock. It just featured really the 2-pronged rap attack of Shifty Shell Shock and Epic over a Red Hot Chili Peppers sample. So,
that's why it's catchy.
Yeah, so I feel a bit bad for them because this is their only #1 single and they had to split the royalties with the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yes.
Because it's just a Red Hot Chili Peppers instrumental off, I can't remember, Blood Sugar Sex Magic or one of those sort of from that era. So they've just taken that instrumental and then they've just rapped over the top of it with some beats, basically.
And as you say, it's also not particularly representative of their sound.
No. So The Gift of the Game, which is Crazy Town's debut album, Tom, sold 2.5 million copies worldwide. And no doubt there are a lot of disappointed people who purchased the album off the back of Butterfly and received a collection of off-brand head tracks. Head bracket, PE bracket tracks. But look, the album did capture some heartfelt moments outside of that rap rock, obviously. Butterflies, we talked about there.
Yep.
Come, my lady, come, my lady, which is really, really good. Obviously, very, very emotional. And also other tracks like Revolving Door, where you sort of feel the emotion of the lost or maybe even unrequited love of one of the members of Crazy Town. As Epic sings, quote, "Don't waste my time unless you're down to fuck." So, very emotional.
Yes.
Very, very emotional.
Yeah.
So, but Butterfly really was lightning in a bottle, I think. They can never quite reach those heights again. They released some other albums I doubt anyone out of Crazy Town complete has own. A couple more for the decade. They did subsequently break up, but they are back together now.
Sure.
Where Shifty Shellshock is the only original member, I believe. But one thing that worked in Shifty's favour, though, Tom, is the fashion at the time, sort of that early-ish 2000s, was terrible. Yeah, the fashion was abysmal. But Shifty insisted on being shirtless 100% of the time. So he avoided the whole, oh, what the fuck is that guy wearing? Because it's just waist-up shots, and he's just never has a shirt on. So.
But even that technique, I believe, was borrowed from Flea, of the Red Hot Chili Peppers,
exactly.
who basically realised that if he only ever appeared with underpants or a sock on his penis for his entire career, then he can avoid...
Absolutely, worrying about
but
being
I mean,
out of
still
fashion.
not a bad idea.
No, definitely. In the Butterfly video, one of Shifty Shellshock's star tattoos flies off. You can remember that. Sort of the tattoo just flies off into the ether. So that's really, really great. Some really good visual effects there. The director of this video is actually an Academy Award winner. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. And in case you forgot this was the early 2000s, Crazy Town featured DJ AM, who became sort of famous for dating Nicole Richie. And he was also in that plane crash with Travis Barker from Blink 182, where every other passenger on the flight died, apart from DJ AM and Travis Barker. Bit of a sliding doors moment. Imagine what would have happened if Trav and DJ AM had gone out in that plane crash. We wouldn't have had Travis's great remix of that fucking, I think, Black Eyed Peas song or whatever it was from the other week. So, yeah, anyway... This is the final. And one other thing as well, which is great about the Gift of the Game, Crazy Town's debut album, outside of Toxic and Dark Side, which I've mentioned, obviously this single, the one where Epic sings about, don't waste my time unless you're down to fuck.
Yep.
All great songs, but the final song on the album, Tom, is just an ad for CrazyTown.com. It's just an instrumental with someone over the top going CrazyTown.com. CrazyTown.com. So the internet's
a fad, Ben. It's never going to catch on.
It was
it's so dated.
In such its sort of infant stages was the internet that bands figured they needed to write a song and say the web address on there to get people to go there. So anyway, good old Crazy Town. Rap rock superstars, I think. So... good on them for giving it a go, and good on them for having a big hit.
Yeah, did one of them die in a drug
I think
overdose?
DJ AM's dead, I think, now.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Oh, okay.
Shifty Shellshock's still going.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it.
He's the only original member, but several others of them might be dead as well. I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
That was another one of those things where I heard that. I remember thinking, who did Butterfly? They didn't seem to be like the kind of guys who'd OD, but... if, as you say, they were more of a sort of new metal, type
Toxic, bit of the rock champion.
Maybe they were more in that category.
They certainly were, yeah. I think it's one of those things where they got signed and they sort of riding on that wave of the rap metal thing, and then none of the songs did any good, so someone at the record label just went, just release that ballad one and hopefully that'll do something. And look, 2.5 million albums later.
Can't argue with that.
You can't argue at all, absolutely.
Okay, we are off to Germany.
Ooh.
It's 2002, and we're looking at a song called Nesaya by Scooter.
Oh, fuck, not Scooter again.
Yes, we covered one of their songs earlier.
The Logical song.
The Logical song, yes, sorry. Nesaya was a number one hit with our Teutonic cousins in Germany, and a number two in Norway, Scotland, Romania, and Austria. You absolutely will not remember Scooter from our 2002 episode. As you say, they had number one with the incredibly inaccurately named The Logical song.
Yeah.
The original Nesaya song, this is a cover, sort of, is a kind of slow lullaby written by Peter Maffey for a 1983 German kids musical called Tabaluga. about a cute dragon. This is not that. It contains samples of Last Train to Trans Central by the KLF.
Jeez.
And the hardcore banger Human Beings by Interstate, both of which are far better dance songs than this. Also, when I say contains samples of, I mean that in the Kid Rock sense. E.g., it's basically those two songs slapped together with a whole bunch of sub-Eurobeat ESL rave rap over the top, plus a whole bunch of briefly yet mystifyingly popular chipmunk voice vocals from a chick called Nicole Suka. Just in case you've been wondering, if there's anything worse they could do with auto-tune, I haven't heard it yet. And then they were like, hold my beer. How about you all sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks? From a chick called Nicole Suka, who I hope got paid a lot if she didn't know what they were going to do to her voice, or nothing whatsoever if she did. And somewhere, quietly buried underneath all of that bullshit, the original lullaby asphyxiates quietly to death. The non-chipmunk lyrics of the song start like this. 3 a.m. The painted cow. Yeah. You ain't stopping us now, wonderful human beings. Yeah, I am the jungler soldier. Come on. The rocket launcher stopped ya. It's not a bird, it's not a plane. It must be Dave who's on the train. Now, the only thing I can say in defence of that is, trust me, if you're listening to a song that starts with a dude yelling 3 a.m. into your face, and it's not 3 a.m., and you haven't dropped at least a couple of green Mitsubishis, then you're not the intended audience of the song, so just calmly, quickly switch the music off before two brand new orifices on your wrist squirt glow sticks into your hands, Cronenberg style, and you start saying, "Wicked," until a van comes to take you away. Because that's the audio effect that Scooter have on people. The video takes its cue from the lyrics by being idiotic, completely ridiculous, trashy as fuck, yet admittedly difficult to turn away from. A bunch of fancily dressed people arrive in limos to a big mansion for some sort of high society party. Then H.P. Baxter, with two X's, yells, "The painted cow," and a painted cow appears. For some reason. The mid-90s rave beat drops and everyone goes nuts. The lasers come out, all the women in the fancy, sophisticated attire take their clothes off for some reason. There's a fucking wallaby wandering around inside.
Good.
In a castle in Germany, dudes are hooking up, women in thongs are making out in a bathtub in a hallway, the chick vomits on it because an old guy tries to sexually assault her, and then the three middle-aged white guys in casual Friday office wear that somehow get paid for this shit just wander off into oblivion, Ben.
Yep.
I mean, what I'm saying is, are you jealous of the Scooter lifestyle, do you think? Does that sound like a good Friday night to you?
Absolutely. Look, yeah, for sure. You got to be jealous of Scooter. I mean, he's maintained a career for such a long period of time, doing great stuff like this, yet all of his music's absolutely unlistenable bullshit.
Well, it's a Jamiroquai situation, because there's no one actually called Scooter. The singer's H.P. Baxter with two X's.
Yep.
It's just, so Scooter are, and even more, but that makes it even weirder. Like Jamiroquai, it's like, well, if Jamiroquai is not the guy, then what the fuck does Jamiroquai mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just call yourself Jamiroquai.
To quote from a YouTube comment below the video, "My 1-year-old daughter is screaming 'Scooter' every time I turn on the speakers, and when I play Nessaya, she screams in joy and starts to dance."
That's good.
From that, I'm thinking that perhaps at the age of 43, Ben, we're just 42 years old to appreciate the Scooter sound.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, definitely.
Also, have you thought of getting Scooter to function as an audio babysitter for your 4-year-old?
Thinking about it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
would your kids dance to Scooter, do you think?
I don't think they'd be into Scooter, no. I think they're more discerning listeners,
They're too mature for Scooter.
I think so. I think they'd probably prefer just to listen to 3am Eternal, I think, from the original KLF.
Oh, it's a much better song, as is the other one, Human Beings by Interstate. That's a real banger too, if you actually want to hear some early aughts era hardcore.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Yeah, man, what do you got? You got one more for me?
Yeah, real quick. I've got one more in America. Ciara, Goodies.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Ciara story, but
don't know this.
The vocals on this are fucked. I'll just put that out there to begin with. She sounds terrible. I'm not sure who produced this, what was going on,
what style of music?
Well, Tom, she's been classified as the Queen of Crunk and B. So I don't know whether that's an actual genre, officially a genre, but after releasing Goodies and a couple of other singles, I think, that were produced by Little John. Mm-hmm. She got the Queen of Crunk and B title.
Okay.
I believe she's still the Queen of Crunk and B because no one else has dared dabble in the genre. But I don't know. I don't really know any other Crunk and B songs.
It sounds like that could actually be an insult.
Yeah.
Bitch,
I think
you're
so.
the Queen of Crunk.
You're the Queen of Crunk and B, yeah.
It turns out that means, I don't know, giving dudes blowjobs in car parks or
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me, Tom.
something. Sure, but not in this case, presumably.
No, not in this
Possibly.
case at all. Because, as I mentioned, this is the number one song in the US, but she wouldn't be giving dudes blowjobs in car parks, Tom, because the song Goodies, the goodies that she's referring to in the song appear to be her snatch. So,
okay.
But she's not letting anyone get dem goodies.
Oh, okay.
So, in fact, dem goodies going to stay in the jar. So
Okay.
she's like, no one's going to get access to my vagina. It's staying in the jar. I assume she means a metaphorical jar and not a literal jar. I don't think it's been surgically removed and placed in a jar. But she's got the goodies.
Yep, they're in a jar.
They're in a jar, and no one's getting access to those goodies. So it's. I don't think I've heard a song that deals with access to vaginas or penises, for that matter, put in such terms. But I like what Ciara's done there with the old goodies, keeping them in the jar. So power to that. To the Queen of Crunk and B, I salute you, and I hope that she's still going today. I noticed that she's done a fair few collaborations with some of the hottest artists around. Little John, Justin Timberlake, all those guys.
Okay.
So, yeah, she's still going strong, I think.
Well,
But,
as discussed, this was the era of Crunk, and I assume B as well.
yeah, Crunk and B. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely right. So,
I wonder if the jar with her vagina in it is kept in the same place in the lolly shop where 50 Cent keeps his lollipop.
yeah,
That
probably.
he's willing to let you lick.
I assume
I'm
so.
assuming, not metaphorically, he's actually talking about an item of candy that he keeps.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's one jar. I think if Ciara does have her vagina in a jar, you want to keep that probably in the bedroom or something like that. Because if you just put that jar up in a cupboard, in the pantry or something like that,
Yes.
it may accidentally get thrown into a stir fry or some sort of other.
Yeah.
A friend might be around. Oh, I need a can of tomatoes.
You don't want
for
to end
this."
up with a detachable penis situation.
No, exactly.
Where somebody just makes off with your vagina. I mean,
Exactly
it'd be
right.
disastrous.
Friends making a bolognese, and then it's like, this has got an odd. What's going on with this? It's like, oh shit, you've thrown my vagina that I was keeping in that jar in there, so it could be problematic. But anyway, I don't really know. There might be a follow-up single where she discusses this. We'll find out. So anyway, that's the shit songs
Sure.
from other places.
Yeah.
I don't know, Tom, if you wanted me to touch real quick on the highest number 2 of the decade.
Yeah, please.
So in Australia, the highest number 2 of the decade was Jason Mraz, I'm Yours.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Now, this is described as Jawaiian, a Hawaiian style of popular music that combines native Hawaiian styles with reggae and other Caribbean influences.
God, sounds great.
So, in the hands of Jason Mraz, it is total horseshit, correct? So, it sounds like the kind of thing that'd be playing at a tiki bar off Wall Street, where a cocktail costs $44, and no one actually really knows what a tiki bar is, but they saw it on a TV show and said, let's set one of those up. So, like, business dudes could go in there after work and get that $44 cocktail. So,
Yes.
Jason, once again, wasn't able to replicate the success, but he did release a song in 2018 with Megan Trainor called More Than Friends, which I can assume is very, very high quality.
You know what? Sorry. Go on.
I was just going to say, he's moved away a bit from music, Tom, because I understand that he couldn't repeat this, and he realised that. So he's got into acting and television.
Yeah.
So he's tried to do that path. He's been in a lot of really good things. And last year, for example, 2021, he was on Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. So he's a real heavy hitter in that biz. Yeah.
I just realised that I have heard that song multiple times, as you say, in the background of, clothes shops where I didn't really want to be. And I always just assumed it was Jack Johnson because it sounds exactly like Jack Johnson. And the late aughts was the era of Jack Johnson. That was when he was.
It's like a shittier version of Jack Johnson, if that's possible.
Just really low effort, low energy
Yeah.
drum pop with a vague hint of something
Yeah, exactly.
island-y about it. But yeah.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
also, did he write Sandstorm? No, he didn't.
No.
So I'm saying Jason Mraz, no Jason Derulo.
No, exactly right. Yeah.
I know who I'd rather.
Look, I'm glad that real low energy, just acoustic guitar, I'm on an island shit is gone, because that was so boring.
It was boring as fuck, really.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing.
It was the background for one of my favourite radio comedy sketches from Get This. Did you listen to that one where
Yeah.
the comedian plays a guy who goes into a marketing meeting for movie producers who want to hear songs that he's written for various upcoming films, and the joke being that it's Jack Johnson, so every single song he plays is exactly the same song, just with the exactly the same, that kind of low effort, low energy, whimsical vibe, regardless of what the title of the music is.
Yeah,
I think he turns them around with The Hills Have Eyes to the reboot. The Hills Have Eyes, everyone dies, he's under your car with a nasty surprise, I think. Jack kind of hums along with it. So, yeah, look that up if you're bored.
I will. Yep. So that was highest number 2 of the decade, but best number 2 of the decade, Tom. A new category I'm introducing this year. Khalees with Milkshake.
Oh yeah, I was actually wondering when we are going to talk about that. That's why I didn't quite hit number one.
Hit number 2. Now, clearly the best number 2 of the decade. I mean, Milkshake. It's a song about how Khalees's tits just make guys lose their fucking minds. That's sort of the lyrical content of that.
Not entirely unjustified.
No, exactly. So
if you've seen the video.
Yeah. So written by Pharrell. Who else? He penned this guy, of course. So Khalees did claim that milkshake, quote, means whatever people want it to. It was just a word we came up with on a whim, but then the song took on a life of its own. I call bullshit on that. I think she knows what it's about. My milkshakes brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. And then in the video clip, she's just sort of, cans out sort of action, and it's sort of milkshake. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
I don't think anyone thought it was about anything else than tits.
It's not quite as... I don't remember being as... I mean, it made sense later on, but I don't remember being as sure of what she meant at the time. It's just a weird way of framing it.
Yep.
It's not quite as direct as, I'll take you to the candy shop, I'll let you lick my lollipop.
Yeah, not quite that.
But yeah, I guess it's the milk/tits thing that,
Yeah, I think so. The video clip's quite provocative. I think if it had been more of a downplayed video clip, I might have been like, oh, maybe she's talking about something else. But it's sort of her. But it's her in that
sort of young at that time.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, definitely. She's it's a cool video clip actually. She's sort of in that
she's in a
hot dog dinery van thing, and but yeah, cool, good song.
She
great.
had a previous big hit on the alternative charts with "I Hate You So Much Right Now."
Yeah, that was another good one.
Yeah,
I hate you so much right now.
Yeah.
And she did a lot of which you don't get a lot for pop songs. So
I was a bit... Yeah, I thought she might have gone... I mean, I think she had a career following up, but those were definitely her...
Well, she had that song, I Hate You So Much Right Now, and then this one, and then I thought it was going to be up and up and up, but she sort of fell off a bit of a cliff. I haven't really heard from her much over the last 15 years, but who knows?
She's still doing stuff, I just don't think I think that was a high watermark.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a shame. Oh, one thing, I rewatched that video not that long ago, and it was another one of those things where I was like, oh, that outfit she's wearing has come back around completely. She's wearing like baggy jeans with sort of low on the hip with like a kind of satin bustier type thing, like a kind of semi-underwear corsety thing, and sneakers, which is now, there's girls walking down the street wearing it now, so 20 years just came back.
She was ahead of her time.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's a good song. I'm with you.
So they're the number twos, absolutely. All right, what have you got for me, Tom?
Well, we got various topics.
Some awards and various
bests
stuff.
And worsts. And,
All right, cool. You want to hit me with one?
All right, sure. Well, I could do my anti-drug thing. Normally I do a little anti-drug report on what pop stars are doing. I couldn't find any fascinating campaigns this time, but I did think it might be worth mentioning probably the most famous drug casualty in the aughts was Michael Jackson.
Yes.
He went out paying $150,000 per month for a private live-in doctor to take care of him. For reasons
How'd that work out?
Well, for reasons that baffle experts to this day, the doctor felt some sort of crazy obligation to give Michael Jackson whatever drugs he asked for. It turns out that before he died, the King of Pop had spent the previous 2 months taking propofol to help with insomnia. Propofol is a general anaesthetic.
Good.
So to quote Robin Williams, taking propofol for insomnia is like getting chemotherapy because you're tired of shaving your head. Jacko had previously been addicted to painkillers for a decade due to the combined stresses of setting his head on fire doing a Pepsi commercial and being accused of child abuse for the first of many subsequent occasions.
Yeah.
But he went to rehab. He was quite honest about it. I think that was like 93 or 94. He said, look, I'm addicted to Demerol, going to rehab and stuff. So yeah, predictably, despite this, Jackson considered himself staunchly anti-drug. The plot of Moonwalker, for instance, concerns a ponytailed Joe Pesci's attempts to use drugs to exploit children, a fate Michael needs to save them from. He'd even lent the use of his song Beat It to the 80s Flintstones Kids Just Say No anti-drug special.
Good.
Appearing in cartoon character as himself to perform the song alongside the usual bewildering array of cartoon characters that Nancy Reagan thought would stop grade 4s snorting crack on the seesaw, or whatever satanic panic era horseshit 80s parents thought their prepubescent offspring were getting up to at recess.
The good thing about Michael Jackson in cartoon form is that the children on set are generally safe
Yes,
because he's animated,
that's
so he's
right.
not actually there. So it's the best way
right.
to get him involved in anything. I
In
think.
some ways, yes. But, I mean, clearly he believed in the cause.
Yep.
Personally, I prefer to think of Michael Jackson in his final musical video, which it was this decade, the 13-minute thriller-style short film for You Rock My World,
Yeah.
which was a #1 in Spain, South Africa and France for 3 weeks in 2001. The video features Michael Madsen, Chris Tucker and Marlon Brando for his usual 3.5 seconds in a corner sitting down in the dark. But for the first time in his entire career, in this video, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but he uses his normal voice.
Oh, what?
That's right. He just sounds like a dude instead of a party clown doing a lazy impersonation of a born-again Christian. On the flip side, his nose looks like it fell off a white chocolate Toblerone bar, and the upper lip area has to be seen to be believed. But yeah, Michael opts to play a wisecracking bare-knuckle brawler bad boy who makes out with the ladies. And if anything highlights the threat of prescription drugs, it's that series of decisions, Ben. I mean, kids, seriously, just take a leaf out of Chris Tucker's book and stick to good, honest methamphetamines, I say.
I'd say so. Look, his nose was looking real bad by the end. It was sort of like he was in a hall of mirrors, but was just walking down the street.
It's about 40 degrees backwards out of whack. Yeah.
Definitely. So yeah, it's it was a weird decade for Michael. The dangling his infant child off a balcony, those sorts of things.
I mean, he hadn't
a lot of lawsuits.
It's not like he was gone into some house. I mean, his reclusive insanity was nothing new.
No,
and he was famously 2 weeks away from going off on a world tour, which no doubt would have been a huge success. As stated, this album, though it didn't have a lot of critical success, was still selling shitloads of records.
He died when he was rehearsing for the 50. He was going to do 50 nights at the O2 in the UK, which I think fits about 20,000 people or something like that. So he was going to play in front of 1 million people doing 50 shows at one venue.
Wow.
And it was going to go for, 6 months or so. It was like 2 or 3 a week or something. So it was quite the undertaking, and it seemed crazy that it was sort of like, wow.
And he was not a young man at this point.
No, absolutely not.
It's kind of hard to tell his age because his face looks like...
Yeah. Now, also, definitely, I was living in the UK at the time, and some people that I worked with had purchased tickets to go, and when Michael Jackson died, obviously the shows were cancelled, and they received an email saying, you can get a refund, or you can just keep the ticket as a memento of that show that you never went to because Michael Jackson died. Nice fucking try, guys. I wonder how many people went, I'll keep that memento ticket, which was just a printout, I think, of an email anyway, saying you got a ticket. So, because I gather, look, they probably would have lost a fair bit of money off that, but, you roll the dice, don't you? It had gone ahead, they would have made a fuckload. Dude dies of drug overdose, you lose a bit. So,
I'm
swings
sure
and roundabouts.
insured to the billions, but Please, what have you got?
Tom got a few awards.
Sure.
So first up, I've got Best Metaphor to explain one's own music, and that goes to Chad Kroeger from Nickelback. Quote, I put my dick in my mouth. I was 14 and much more flexible at the time. It was soft and required a lot of pulling. Now, if someone who hasn't heard Nickelback asked me to describe their sound, I don't think there's really a better way than to say it's much like a flaccid penis in your mouth. So
Yeah, it requires a lot of pulling. Also, it's soft as fuck.
yeah, exactly. So that quote came from I think just during an interview at one stage. Chad just talked about how as a teenager he just put his own dick in his mouth. So who'd have known that guy would go on to write such great songs? I think I believe there is a Nickelback song from around this time called "Something in Your Mouth." So I'm not sure what it's referring to, but yeah. Anyway, that's it for me on Nickelback. I don't want to say anything about them.
I was going to do the EDM report for the decade. That takes a little bit. I'll try not to drag it out.
No, please.
I did think this was interesting because although hip-hop was the dominant thing in the aughts, there was a lot of cool stuff happening in EDM. I wanted to talk about Modular Recordings, known simply as Modular. They're an Australian record label founded in 1998 by Steve Pavlovich. After its establishment, their first 3 album releases were Living End's debut, Ben Lee's Breathing Tornadoes, and The Avalanche's Since I Left You, which were all international successes of one kind or another and sold shitloads in Australia. In 2004, with the success of Cut Copy, the Presets and the Bumblebees, and the development of modular parties and stuff, they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and people started calling their hipsterish, retro-tinged dance and dance-leaning rock as the modular sound. Dan Whitford of Cut Copy described it as discovering dance music played live with a more musical aesthetic rather than just a DJ on stage. They were sort of a crossover thing. They set up an office in New York in 2004, then London. They started throwing Never Ever Land concerts and parties, which were the coolest shit out at the time. In 2007, they brought Daft Punk to Australia for the first time on their Alive tour, which was definitely the best gig I saw in the aughts. Supposedly Daft Punk were getting $1 million per gig for that, and it was worth every fucking penny, I have to say. Either way, everything Modular did for a decade turned to gold. In March of 2008, just to pick an example, Cut Copy and the Presets' second albums both entered the ARIA charts at number 1. Artists they signed included the Presets, the Avalanches, Lady Hawk, Cut Copy, Bag Raiders, Architecture in Helsinki, Pond, Tame Impala, The Rapture, Rocket Science, Sneaky Sound System, Banshee, and Wolf Mother. And overseas artists who asked for Modular to release their work in Australia included the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Chromeo, the Klaxons, and Mastercraft. Basically, if you're on the dance floor between 99 and 2010, you were listening to Modular bands, and it was usually the better stuff that you would hear that night. The only other thing that influenced electronic music as much as Modular this decade was that 2007 fucking cluster bomb release of the debut albums of Digitalism, Justice, and Simian Mobile Disco that came out within a fortnight of each other, just by coincidence, and was just pointed at the future of electronic for the next decade. They took that sort of gated neo-disco beat of the early aughts and turned it into sort of rock-tinged dance floor bangers with sophisticated instrumentation and smart lyrics and stuff. And that sound, by the way, that muffled, half-compressed nightclub sound that I've been trying to describe since Madonna's Hung Up, that's called a low-pass filter, I now realise. Okay. Apparently, that's how you get that sound.
Like it sounds like you're underwater or something?
Yes.
And then you flick it back out and then it comes back in.
Yes, and you're going deaf and stuff. If any older EDM fans are listening, they might be thinking, hang on, didn't all electro this decade owe nearly everything to Daft Punk? Absolutely it did, but their first album came out in 1997 and they were still kicking goals well into the 2010s, so they're bigger than just an aughts phenomenon. Unlike those other bands and Modular, who were basically all imploded in the decades since. How cool were Daft Punk? Well, they were once personally asked to remix a song by David Bowie and turned him down. That's like blowing off a one-night stand with Scarlett Johansson because you're too good at masturbation, and then she tells her mates that she's jealous of your hand, you know? So, The lesson to take away here is that you should definitely wear a helmet if you want your band to dominate the popular consciousness for 20 years, Ben. That's what I'm saying. Of course, the devil's bargain there is that you have to wear a fucking helmet for 20 fucking years. And if it's a shit helmet, like Marshmallow, for instance, then you'll also look like a fuckstick that entire time.
Yeah, that dude sucks.
Yeah, he looks like he's got a albino Lego man stuck on his head. The Daft Punk helmets cost 65 grand each.
Fuck.
They had like controls inside their gauntlets that could animate their helmets while they were using them. And I bet they still got fucking annoying after 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, going through 2020, how long does it take a face mask to get fucking annoying?
Yeah,
Imagine doing a 90-minute concert setting of full face helmet. Conversely, I performed at primary school dance functions for a decade as DJ Stack Hat, but I gradually realised that the reason I wasn't gaining traction, other than my primarily morbid angel-based set lists, was the fact that the Stack Hat isn't enough of a helmet then, you know. As in so many other areas, MF Doom was on the money. You want to hide your identity but leave breathing holes so you can actually fucking breathe. So I was going to say, what was your decade? What was your gig of the decade, Ben? Did it involve anyone with a face mask on? Perhaps the Nameless Ones live in Launceston, kicking off the crowd favourite I Met Her at the Pet Shop?
Yeah, yeah. Just firstly, I want to say that I saw Daft Punk must have been on the same tour.
Oh, cool! It was
in
the
Japan.
geometric
In Japan, yeah. So
thing from
was this
behind
like 2007?
Yeah, the pyramid. They were in a sort of pyramid.
So I
thing,
think I would have seen them in 2007.
Yeah, it was 2007, 2008.
They played at Summer Sonic Festival in Tokyo, so I went to see them there. Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it also, and I'd have to say that you mentioned MF Doom. Now, MF Doom was famous for occasionally just sending someone else out to his gigs, and I think that's amazing. Like, you know, amazing R.I.P. MF Doom.
He was also
amazing rapper.
Sorry, just to go back around to what we were talking about before. I didn't realise this until recently, but he was also an early proponent of what's called backpack rap.
Yep.
There's a picture of him, another guy, and
Paul
Barnum on, and they're just in someone's house, and they're all just wearing backpacks.
Cool.
And I don't think it's posed. It just looks like they've all just walked inside with backpacks.
So I mean, that's the thing. Like, you go and see MF Doom. Imagine you're a fan and you go and see MF Doom. You go, I'm going to see this amazing rapper, and it's just some other fucking dude with a mask on with a backing track. You'd feel ripped off by that. And I don't know how many times he did this, but he definitely did it on some occasions. That's a fact. Now, why didn't, you know how Daft Punk are obviously no longer a going concern. They've sort of given the game away, but they can come back at any time. They could have just kept this going forever, because you could put anyone in those.
That's right.
Because the thing with MF Doom is he had to actually rap, but if you had fake Daft Punk guys, you could just go, let's just put it. It's electronic music. Let's just have it pre-recorded. They're just up there doing their robot shit, faster, stronger, whatever, and everyone's like rocking it. So very, very interesting. That sort of.
I mean, you could say they're true. No, it's because they don't sing. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so that's it was good. I just always wondered why they didn't sort of take a leaf out of MF Doom's book and just send someone else along. Or Andrew WK, I believe, is the rumour that he has done that in the past. Well, there's a lot of rumours about that dude that are completely batshit, such as that he's a different person now or whatever. But that's a completely different story. But look, it's really hard to say for best gig of the decade. I got to see a lot of stuff in the 2000s that I didn't have a chance to see.
You were in London and
so I lived in Tokyo for several years during this period, and then in London as well and Amsterdam. So I got to go and see a lot of bands that just hadn't really made it to Australia at the time. Yeah. So Daft Punk was really cool. I got to see a lot of hardcore bands that I grew up liking that I'd never seen before. Like Converge and Cave In, those sorts of guys. I saw Sonic Youth a bunch of times, who I'm a big fan of and hadn't seen them before. Saw them probably 3 or 4 times in the decade, maybe even more. Just got to go to a lot of hardcore shows, which was cool.
And you did a few rails and went to see Roxette.
I went to see Roxette, which was cool. I went to see Purr, so I saw one half of Roxette solo, and then I saw the other half of Roxette. I saw Scandalous in a car park in Kingston, Tom, which is always very memorable. So all those great bands, and then I went to a couple of like big festivals. I went to one in Germany, which was really cool, a 3-day festival there, and saw a bunch of cool stuff. Went to Roadburn in the Netherlands, which is like a big sort of metal festival, which was pretty rad. Actually, that might have been 2010 actually. So that was next decade. But so it was a good time for live music for me particularly. So it was a good decade.
It was a fun time for me. I was in Perth, and the weather there, it's like a 9-month summer, and that was when I first started going to like day festivals, which I'd never done because Tasmania doesn't lend itself to those things. Like the idea that you could book a ticket for a festival that lasted a full day, a month in advance, just knowing that the weather was going to be good the full day, that sort of thing. And then back then I still had groups of people to go to those things with and, go mob around in groups, and really fun. The idea that you could like go and see a band with a bunch of people, then you could all go off and see other things, that you didn't have to like follow each other around all day. You could just kind of and talk to random strangers in the queue to get water and that sort of thing. It was a good time.
Absolutely. Definitely, cool.
I stopped going when I was the only person left over 17, and everyone else was way hotter than me and way younger than me. So, it's like, this is getting a bit sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the last one I went to, I almost got caught with a policeman going through my wallet to find, and I didn't even have pingers, I just had some non-prescription Dexies. It's like, fucking hell, I'm like 33, I'm about to get busted by a cop for having lame-o, not even illegal, properly drugs. What am I doing? And it was like 42 degrees, and I hadn't even started dancing yet. I think I'm getting a bit old for this shit now.
Fair enough.
Not too old for concerts, just too old for day festivals on pingers.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Sorry, that was a big diversion. Yeah, what have you got? Any more awards?
Up next, the Kesha Award for thinly veiled blowjob metaphor in a song goes to Fergie for her track London Bridge, Tom.
Yes.
You familiar with that one?
Yeah.
I'll just read out the lyrics from the start. Oh shit. 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 You ready for this? Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit!
Fair,
oh
that
shit!
Is my reaction when Fergie comes on. I mean,
it's me, Fergie, the pen, plow out, Fergie, Ferg. That's what's up. When I come to the club, step aside. Oh shit! Part the seas, don't have me in line. Oh shit! VIP, cause I gotta shine. Oh shit! I'm Fergie, Ferg. Me love you long time. And she does the accent as well.
Excellent.
Oh shit! All girls getting down on the floor. Oh shit. Back to back, drop down, rulo. Oh shit. I'm a lady, but I'm dancing like a hoe. Oh shit. Cause I don't give a fuck, so here we go. How come every time you come around my London Bridge wants to go down? Like London, 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 wanna go down. Like London, 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 be going down. Now, I don't know what in the living fuck she's talking about, but every time you come around, she's going down like London Bridge. Now,
if you're a record executive, I would assume so.
Absolutely. It's good as well because when you watch the music video, there's a bit, she's on the boat and she's in the UK and she's on the boat and there in the background is Tower Bridge. Not London Bridge. So it's a common mistake. So she's focusing on Tower Bridge the whole time. The song's called London Bridge. It's a different fucking bridge. So that just shows the attention to detail that Fergie likes on this. But every time you come around, she's going down like London, London, London.
Well, some people did point out at the time that the London Bridge is a sexual position, but it's one that involves 4 people. 2 couples, as it were.
Well, it's coincidentally how many people are in the Black Eyed Peas, Tom, so perhaps it is.
That's true, although that would mean that another one of the male members was playing the girl in this situation.
Definitely.
Taboo. I don't know. Who could it be? I'm
definitely
not sure.
taboo, I think. Absolutely. So, yeah, I don't know. Just, yeah. So, yeah, her bridge is going down.
Sure.
Like London. Good.
Sure. Look, I was going to bring up some of the movie songs of the decade. Did you have anything about that?
I do, but yeah, you hit me up, Tom, and I can jump.
Oh, sure.
on
I mean, I know these are they're sort of awards. I had some good stuff and some bad stuff. There really weren't that many movie songs in the awards. The only number ones in Australia that we covered were Jai Ho from Slumdog Millionaire, Lady Marmalade from Moulin Rouge, and Lose Yourself from 8 Mile. Compare that to the 80s when we'd cover 2 or 3 movie number ones per year with change left over for a bag of mixed Addams Family groove.
Yeah.
That said, there were a few songs that made the charts via being featured in movies, if not written for them. Independent Woman by Destiny's Child was probably helped out by Charlie's Angels, but their dad submitted the track without asking the band, meaning that when they wrote the song, they certainly weren't imagining Drew Barrymore acting, which was lucky, or the song would have just been the sound of a hemorrhoidal elephant slowly crushing a synthesizer beneath its hideously inflamed anus. So fortunately, it wasn't that. But yeah, good stuff-wise, it was slim pickings really, but a few I liked were Man of Constant Sorrow from Oh Brother Where Art Thou? That was the minor radio hit. New Slang by the Shins, featured in an armrest grippingly embarrassing moment from the film Garden State by Zach Braff. Woohoo by the 5-6-7-8s from a much cooler scene in Kill Bill. And who could forget Backdoor Lover from the underappreciated Josie and the Pussycats. But I'll give my personal non-ironic vote to You Know My Name from Casino Royale by Chris Cornell, R.I.P., which actually aged better than you'd think it would.
Yeah.
A grunge song in a James Bond thing sounds like a dumb idea, but it actually works better than you think. It's not really grunge, it's just his voice, you know. But yeah. Cool. And then shit on the shit side. 2004, Counting Crows, Accidentally in Love. In 2004, I was living with a friend, medical doctor Timothy Goldsmith, who owned the entire Shrek 2 soundtrack, on which this was the hit song. He played the whole soundtrack relentlessly for 6 months in between bursts of Casey Chambers and Converge. Repetition did not make me fall accidentally in love with this song. In fact, it made me want to accidentally put the CD in the toaster when Tim was at work.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anything from you, movie-wise?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. Look, I think I'd have to say, movie-wise, my award for the Russell Crowe Award for scamming your way onto a movie soundtrack goes to the Boondock Saints, Tom.
Oh, God.
So you may recall the film The Boondock Saints.
Yep.
Well,
for those who don't know.
Well, Troy Duffy, the mastermind behind the Boondock Saints, he was also in a band with his brother called The Brood. But then they decided to change their name to the Boondock Saints because there's a movie called The Boondock Saints. Oh, okay. So, for those of you that don't know the story, he was working in a bar.
Troy Duffy
wrote a film called The Boondock Saints, and Harvey Weinstein was so fucking into it.
This was in the like post Tarantino era when they were just scrabbling for anything about 2 hit men who were wisecracking that they were anything they could get on the screen.
So this happened in the very late 90s. Basically Harvey Weinstein signed the dude up, said, "You've never written anything before? Have you ever directed anything? No? That's okay. You can direct this film. You're the writer. I'm also in a band. I'm going to do the soundtrack as well." So he did that. He got basically the whole deal, and they bought the bar for him that he worked at.
Yes, he was a bouncer.
Yep.
That was so they gave him a massive record right signing fee as a writer.
Yep.
First time director, despite no experience whatsoever, bought the bar that he worked at just so he could laugh at his employers, and signed his grunge band.
Yeah, exactly. So the 2 songs, they changed the name to the Boondock Saints. They had 2 songs on the soundtrack, Holy Fool and Pipes. Okay. Both are, I don't even know, they're rock music, I guess, but it's sort of that post... I dare not even really say post-grunge. It's just really bad. But if you haven't seen the documentary Overnight, which Tom and I were actually talking about briefly before, definitely watch that because it shows what happens when you are a man so arrogant with such a lack of self-awareness that you think you can do absolutely anything because Harvey Weinstein's given you a check for a few $100,000. Guess what? Turns out you can't. And it turns out that you're basically blackballing yourself from the entire industry before you've even started. Because all this dude has done is the Boondock Saints, the Boondock Saints 2, and then in 2021 he co-wrote a Rob Schneider film, which has been critically panned as being total dog shit. So there you go. And his band is absolutely terrible as well. For one of the worst videos of the decade, Tom, he also showed up, the Boondock Saints, in a video called Two Ravens. Now, this has to be seen to be believed. It's black and white, so you know it's classy. A shirtless Troy Duffy, and let's just say he's not Peter Andre, wakes up, just starts strumming his acoustic guitar. Then the rest of the band members are coincidentally sleeping on the floor in the room that he's on. They all wake up, and then they start playing the song together as if they'd already, like, it's sort of like Troy's just saying, I've just written this. Then everyone else joins in and automatically knows it. And it's sort of like it feels like a real low budget Extreme, More Than Words, but everyone's shirtless. And and this is, I assume he directed the video as well. It's a very high concept, but that's fucking terrible. So congratulations to this dude for getting onto that soundtrack, much like Russell Crowe did with 30 odd foot of grunt when he was on. What was that?
Yes, sneaking around the set of Virtuosity, recording an unofficial handycam video.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the worst. But I guess, like you, Tom, you also had one of the best as well. So best song of the year definitely goes, from a movie soundtrack, definitely goes to Alvin and the Chipmunks for their track Get Munked, which appears to be a song from a kid's film, which appears to be about banging a chipmunk.
Yes.
So, not quite sure how that got approved, but
it's if you haven't heard Get Munked, it's a sort of slow and sleazy Pussycat Dolls style sex jam. It's just that it's about wanting to fuck a chipmunk.
Absolutely.
Or a chipmunk wanting to fuck you, perhaps.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hard to tell.
No doubt. So, anyway, that's the best from a soundtrack for me, Tom.
Look, guys, I cannot highly recommend... If you're a fan of Schadenfreude, of watching people trip over their own asses, I cannot recommend Overnight enough. Truly.
It's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
There's so many great lessons to be learned from that film. Maybe if you're a complete cunt, don't hire a documentary crew to document your rise to fame if you've never risen to fame before. And if you are going to do that, then don't piss off the documentary crew so much that even after you refuse to pay them, they keep filming you because you're such a prick that they're now going to write a documentary about what a cunt you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, if you're standing next to Harvey Weinstein and people are looking at Harvey Weinstein going, what a sympathetic figure. And maybe it might be a time for a trip down the old Hall of Mirrors, possibly.
Absolutely right, yeah. It beggars belief, the way that he behaves, despite the fact that
unbelievable.
It's sort of, I wouldn't expect, a seasoned veteran 20 films into act with such arrogance and just sort of dickheadedness.
I mean, who would have thought a bouncer would be like that if you gave him heaps of power and money? I can't imagine.
Exactly.
All right, what have we got next?
Well, if you want, I can just read out a couple of awards if you want.
Yeah,
you
sure.
Hit me up with your weird shit if you want. So, my LFO award for exceptional wordplay goes to Britney Spears for her song "If You Seek Amy."
Yeah.
Now, this was controversial at the time. You might be saying, "What's this?" Well, the song's called "If You Seek Amy," but when Britney sings the chorus, it just says, "All the boys and all the girls want to if you seek me." Basically, F-U-C-K me. Basically, she says, "If you seek Amy," but it sounds like she's saying, "F-U-C-K me." It's clever.
It's clever.
And it was very controversial at the time. She also dials the baby voice in this one up about 1,000%.
Yeah,
so
it's not great.
Imagine someone releasing a single and it's just like, let's have the chorus saying everyone wants to F-U-C-K me. And it's just like, yeah, let's do that. But then no one's going to be able to release that as a single. It's like, if it sounds a bit like "If You Seek Amy," let's just call the song that. Max Martin, he's a genius. I won't let anyone tell me otherwise.
The worst part of that is, in the video, they don't even trust that you can figure out this,
Yeah.
fucking... World War II level of code breaking required to figure that out. So they have a fake, poorly acted newsreader introduction talking about Britney Spears on the news as though she was still getting on the news at this point.
Yep.
Just explaining what the double entendre actually means,
exactly.
so you don't, God forbid, go into it unprepared for this.
It's so
and
fucking
come out
stupid.
Going, who's this chick called Amy? I don't understand what's going on.
Exactly.
Has she changed her name?
Yeah, for sure. So that was completely moronic. And my Black Eyed Peas award, Tom, for I Long for Your Own Old Material, even though I never cared for it award, goes to the Venga Boys featuring Chica with their song Chica Bow Bow. Which is a timeless song about a computer going into a nightclub and contracting a sexually transmitted disease. A computer, Tom, yeah. So
this weird dream style, one of those computers that can sexually interact with human beings, is it?
Yeah, the computer gets an STD through its joystick, which is it's a very different subject matter for the Venga Boys to deal with. Usually they're talking about getting on the Venga bus and that sort of bullshit, but this one's about what can happen once you get off the Venga bus if you're a computer. Features such lyrics as, "The doctor checked my hard drive, a virus in my archive. My disk was not protected, and now I am infected." So the Venga Boys, and should I mention, it features Chica, and after every line, it's just the co-artist on this just going Chica Bow Bow. So it's that. The doctor checked my hard drive, Chica Bow Bow. A virus in my archive, Chica Bow Bow. It is fucking awful, and yeah, it makes you really, really long for the days of the Venga bus. So good on them for really somehow knocking it down a couple of levels. All right, Tom, what do you got?
Weird stuff for the aughts, musically speaking. My favourite little bit that I dug up was Subset, who were a band short-lived composed of the members of the Presidents of the United States of America and Sir Mix-a-Lot, the President of the Fat Ass Appreciation Society of America.
Wow.
They never made it as far as a whole album, but did appear on a musicblitz.com CD with the track Addicted to Fame, an addiction that they were to remain blissfully unaffected by. That said, they did perform live on a couple of occasions, including at a festival. My favourite song is probably Skinnin' and Grinnin', although crowd favourite What Can I Lick always gets the party started when I use my time machine to visit the turn of the millennium again. One thing that did survive, thank goodness, is their only press release for Addicted to Fame, so wrap your listening gear around this shit. Quote, "Uncompromisingly original and completely accessible at the same time, Subset are the role model for 2000s contemporary artists. The Presidents of the United States of America are laid to rest in the cemetery of fallen soldiers, but the warrior spirit is alive and well in Subset, reinforced by additional firepower in the form of Sir Mix-a-Lot. The three original members of the Presidents have reinvented themselves with this new track, which says much more than you think it does on first listen. This is more than just a song, Ben. It's a news report from the front lines of a war on musical artists. The body count is high. It's a lethal conflict. The songwriters are reporting as battle-scarred veterans of the highest levels of music business confrontation, and the good news is they've survived intact. Now they've snuck back into the game like the SAS on a covert operation. You gotta love these guys. Addicted to Fame is a wicked indictment of their time served in the pop star miasma, with full metal jacketed guitar-based figures wrapped around street beats that hit like an AK on full auto. But we're not talking thug life here, bro. We're talking brain power to the max. So Mix-a-Lot runs down a hard-edged lyric that speaks to the trick bag that is fame, full of dips and doodles, left turns and fat beats. The song reminds me why I liked music in the first place. What's not to like? Hard funk beats and cool guitars and a message that doesn't talk down to the listener. These men have been there, done that, and had that done to them. Fame kills, sure enough. Sadly, Ben, Subset's unreleased album was lost to time, so the bands of the next decade had to survive without the role model for 2000s contemporary artists. The horrifying results can be simply evoked with two words, Ed and Sheeran.
Yeah, look, some things are too good to be true, I feel, Tom, and maybe, just maybe, that we weren't ready for it at the time. maybe will never be ready, but I hope that the output was recorded and is in a vault somewhere, and at a certain period of time, one of the presidents would say, now's the time we need to drop this. In much the same way that so many people said to Will.i.am, can you please record Where Is the Love Again? Can you please? The world needs that right now. We need you, Will. We're desperate.
Yes.
We need you to re-record Where Is the Love? And he did it. So maybe at some stage someone will say to the presidents, look, we need you to drop that album that you did with Sir Mix-a-Lot, because I think the time is right for that message.
I mean, as Fergie herself said, she's so 3008 and you're so 2008.
Exactly
so I like to
right.
imagine that in 3008 there will be a concert where Metallica and Lou Reed's Lulu will be performed in its entirety, where the Black Eyed Peas, Where Is the Love, will,
Fergie will be hosting the event.
Will be hosting it from A Brain in a Jar, and Subset will be performing.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, I'm making a joke about that, but guess why Subset broke up, supposedly?
Please hit me with it.
Well, apparently, Sir Mix-a-Lot wanted to take the band in a more hard-edged industrial metal type direction. This is in 2000, when that would have actually been a pretty good idea. Whereas presidents
style.
of USA wanted to be more of a sort of lazy ass, we've already made shitloads of money bar band kind of a direction.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, as, exhibited by their subsequent successes. All those other things they did.
Yeah, that's a shame. Look, I hope that they do get together, because that's an unholy sort of alliance that I didn't see coming, and I'd like to.
Yes.
I mean, when people are like, did you hear that Metallica's teamed up with Lou Reed? It's like, yeah, that is pretty crazy, but I think even crazier is the presidents of the United States of America teaming up with Sir Mix-a-Lot. So,
I just wish someone would dig up some long-lost Subset tracks that we never got to hear. It's a shame.
No, it is a shame. Wow, didn't see that happening. It's good.
It's all right.
No, cool.
All right, what have we got next?
I've got the Los Del Rio and Los Del Mar. I can't believe that was done once, let alone fucking twice award.
Sure.
And that goes to DJ Otzi and the Fast Food Rockers for the fast food song. You may recall DJ Otzi, that fuckwit from Austria who churned out some bullshit earlier in the decade. Well, he did a Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. He did a dance song of that.
Wow.
And another group called the Fast Food Rockers also released that exact same song. So twice in the decade, Macarena style. And I believe one of them, by the Fast Food Rockers, did, Tom, reach the top of the charts in the United Kingdom. So it doesn't surprise me at all. So there's
with a
that.
cover of
of a child playground chant,
Yes.
so which is great.
Not even an actual nursery rhyme, just some idiotic shit that 5-year-olds say.
The long lost John Lennon Song Award, Tom, goes to the Cheeky Girls with their hit "Touch My Bum." I think that was one of the Beatles tracks that may have been in a vault or something, and they tracked that down. So if you're unfamiliar with the Cheeky Girls, they're identical twins out of Romania that just did a lot of songs like "Touch My Bum," etc. Big in the UK, surprisingly. So. And one more, Tom, the Bret Michaels Award for Best Theme Song from a Rock of Love knockoff. This goes to Tila Tequila for I Love You. And that's from her show A Shot of Love. If anyone can remember, did Tila Tequila, does anyone remember her? Fucking hell. She was I think she was at MySpace.
She was getting bottled off stage at one of the March of the Juggalos.
So her claim to fame was a lot of friends on MySpace, I think, and then she did like an OnlyFans thing, like 20 years before.
Proto-influencer.
So sort of that ended up with her own dating show, basically like Rock of Love, but because she was bisexual, there were girls and guys on there trying to win her affection, so... 20 years ago, I guess that was kind of innovative. Now no one would give two fucks. But, she was pretty whack.
The insane thing about this is that means that Rock of Love not only had, 4 seasons?
3, I think.
3 seasons.
2 and then the Love Bus.
So 3 seasons, but it also had 2 separate spin-offs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charm School and that one.
Yep.
I was unaware of that. But I called it March of the Juggalos, but I was meant Gathering.
Gathering.
March of the Juggalos is that nature documentary about the lengths that two juggalos will go to have sex with each other during mating season, crossing the tundra with nothing to sustain themselves but jars of discount soft drink.
Absolutely right. And one more. This shit is so weak it makes Hinder sound like Type A negative award. That goes to Scouting for Girls. She's So Lovely. If you remember that song?
Yeah, I do. That sucks.
Which features some of the worst lyrics of the decade. She's flirty, turned 30. Ain't that the age a girl gets real dirty? Now,
Not really.
I don't really know about that. Have you sort of... I don't know who the sort of chicks Scouting for Girls are hanging out with. You know, they're dating 29-year-olds. You know, they're like, oh, you want to hold my hand in public? They're like, oh, I don't really know. That's a bit too much. Second they turn 30, they're just shitting on their chests. I'm not quite sure what's going on with this.
Also,
but,
if you've seen the video for that, the members of Scouting for Girls, it doesn't really matter whether the chick's dirty or not because she'd have to be blind to go out with any of you freaks.
Yeah, exactly.
They look like the guys who weren't hot enough to be busted.
Yeah, the song's fucking garbage and the lyrics are terrible and everything about it sucks.
I nearly put that on my list. That was appalling. You were right.
Terrible.
Yeah, I was going to do a award for perviest music video because I am the perv authority on this podcast.
What do you got?
Well, it really was an era. I mean, we have more explicit videos now.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of pervy videos in the 90s and the 80s. Girls on Film by Duran Duran springs to mind. But the 90s was sort of peak titillation, but not quite, but still with some censorship sort of thing. So you really had to think outside the box, as it were.
Yep.
Chortle, etc. So the main contender has to be, of course, Call on Me by Eric Prydz. That was a number one in the UK, Ireland, Germany, France, Austria, Norway, etc. in 2004.
Yep.
The video memorably features 24-year-old Australian backup dancer named Deanne Berry, who showed up to the shoot expecting the video to just be some trashy dance thing that goes nowhere, like most low-budget techno videos did. Instead, it led to her becoming an aerobics instructor, releasing a range of exercise DVDs in Ministry of Sound, dancing on stage in We Will Rock You, becoming a professional backup dancer, on the world stage, and now living as a mum in Bondi, running a fitness studio called Deanne Berry Bodies.
Really?
Yeah, not to be confused with Dion Berry's Bodies. That's a different fitness studio run out of the western suburbs with a more sort of shovel-focused workout program. The song itself samples a reworked hook from the Steve Winwood song Valerie.
Sure does.
Yeah, not to be confused with that other famous song called Valerie by Mark Ronson and Amy Winehouse. Which was originally used by DJ Falcon and, drumroll, Thomas Bangalter from Daft Punk.
Ooh.
They used to use that in concert. Now, I thought that was interesting, if you forgive me. Just to clarify something we've talked about a lot, but I wasn't totally 100% down on. Song copyright is split into two things. You've got the songwriting copyright and the master recording copyright.
Yep.
Hence Taylor Swift's
ability to get... Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
She's re-recording all of her old albums so she can avoid the... She wants people to listen to her version on Spotify because
she
already has
the
songwriting, but she doesn't get the master recording.
Actual
exactly.
songs.
Yep.
It's also that insane thing where, do you remember for a while, speaking of Michael Jackson, somehow got through like an auction, he got the songwriting rights to like the Lennon and McCartney.
Yeah, he bought the publishing rights to all those Beatles
like
songs, I
10
think, and
years.
all the
Yeah, which they were only on sale because some fucking record executive had scammed them out of them when they were all like 20 in the first place and then needed some cash, and he outbid them because back then Michael Jackson was richer than the Beatles.
And he also figured out that there'd be money to come in off master recording,
absolutely,
copyright forever.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, so what makes sampling a pain in the arse nowadays, in the years since Paul's Boutique, now that you have to do it properly, is that you need both copyrights for a legal sample, even if it's just a little 5-second thing.
Yep.
However, there is a sneaky backdoor which Prydz used with Call on Me. He took his unofficial dance track, which he'd already knocked off of someone else, which they'd already knocked off of the two French guys. He took that, but what they hadn't done was take it to Steve Winwood and play it to him. And he liked it enough to give them permission to use the hook. And then he said, "Oh, well, there's a problem. I can't get the official thing. So how about you re-record the vocal sections that I need," which I've kind of adjusted a little bit. So then he took those recordings to a place called Replay Heaven, which is a company with a website that specialises in this exact situation. So what they will do is they'll take a legal snippet of an existing piece of copyright material and recreate the backing music so that it sounds exactly like the original master,
Perfect.
but it isn't. So then you avoid needing to get a clearance. The fact that a company exists just to do that should give you some indication of how much record companies charge for a fucking 2-second sample, which is why people actually do that shit. Anyway, getting back to the song was a huge hit. The video made it 50 times more popular than it ever would have been otherwise. And Deanne Berry woke up to discover that her ass was famous. Like, the cover of the 12-inch is just her ass.
Yeah.
Tony Blair famously said that when the video came on at his gym, he fell off his rowing machine. But Ben, there was another contender for the title of Pervious Video of the Aughts, which was Satisfaction by Benny Benassi. Now, there are 2 videos for this song. The only one anybody remembers features a sort of pseudo-commercial for various power tools and items of construction equipment. Their functions demonstrated in some detail by, among other people, Playboy Playmate Suzanne Stokes, Jerry Byrne, Rachel Hallett, and Thekla Roth. These videos are both just straight-up perv fests in a style not seen since 1981 television.
Oh, yeah,
you were talking about, when it was okay to advertise chocolate milk to kids with a wet T-shirt contest, or for the cameraman at Test cricket to while away the afternoon just relentlessly upskirting the hottest chicks in the stand because he couldn't be fucked following seagulls around. To me, what pushes these 2 pervathons over the edge to become sort of archive-quality pop artefacts of the era is this. Despite real, decent quality production values, choreography and talent involved in both of them, neither of them have anything to do with the songs at all. Not even vaguely. None of the musicians appear in either of them, nor do the subjects of the videos relate in any way to the lyrics of either of the songs or the original songs that they're sampling from. But thanks to some quality A-grade high-end perviness, they both now exist in these sort of steamed-up little hermetic bubbles, forever sealed in the male gaze of the mid-aughts for future generations to, I guess, crank one out to.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think, it's pointless to accuse something of exploitative objectification when that's the stated goal of the thing. Like, the videos for Cherry Pie, MILF Money, or Anaconda spring to mind, You can't get angry at a VHS tape of Electric Blue for failing the Bechdel test.
That's correct.
That's not really what it was designed for. Small addendum. Perviest video ever graphic designers only subcategory goes to DV&O by Justice, who both met at design school before they became a band. The video contains no nudity or human beings at all, but has been known to make professional designers of both gender have embarrassing trouser accidents. Have you seen that one?
I haven't, no.
It is just transitions between animated logos, just glistening, white-hot, nude logos.
Okay.
Baby.
Fantastic.
It's great. DV&O. It's also a banger of a song, too.
Cool. I'll definitely check that out.
I'm sure you haven't seen those other videos because you're.
A couple of points though on that Eric Prydz video. It's great that the chick was able to parlay that into a lifelong career of whatever. Because the video is just a lot of close-ups on her ass, exceptionally amounts of that.
And the other dancers too were in the aerobics videos, which is good because the Ministry of Sound, who put out that thing, the video and the song, must have made a fuckload of money off essentially her and that one sample. Of
for
Steve
sure.
Winwood. So I hope Deanne Berry and Steve Winwood and the other dancers got a decent chunk of that cash.
Well, Tom, interestingly, the video was the highest downloaded music video of all time in Australia. Downloaded over 35,000 times, through 3 mobile phones using 3G technology. So at the time, it would have taken some time in association with Rage Music television show. So
this was
happened.
at the time
When
there was no YouTube.
No, you had to download it 35,000 times, which is a lot. Ministry of Sound presented 3 mobile with the mobile equivalent of a gold record in Australia because it was downloaded so many times.
I also remember, you can tell they knew how good this was because there was no separate video single. So if you wanted the video of this, you had to buy the Ministry of Sound 2004 annual 4-disc set, which cost about $70, that had the DVD in it. So basically they were selling this, they were basically holding this video to hostage with this $70 brick of shit dance songs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that 35,000 people downloaded it through their mobile phone in 2005 is insane, because
crazy.
You got to remember, this is pre-iPhone, so the screens would have been dog shit. It would have been like a Nokia 3210 type scenario.
It's like CCTV
would look like
footage.
It would have exactly.
And
would
imagine
take
how long
8 hours
it would
to
take.
download on
Fucking
3G.
hell.
So that's crazy that so many people needed that. So super interesting. Yeah, Steve Winwood, that's a sick song. Valerie, Higher Love is one of my all-time favourites.
Yeah,
so
he's
Steve
got
Winwood's
a lovely
got a couple
80s
bangers.
voice. Yeah.
And just as you mentioned with that whole sampling thing and getting samples cleared, you mentioned Avalanches earlier in the podcast with their album Since I Left You. They had to have somewhere, well, some sources say 3,000, but other people say it's probably closer to 800. But even then, 800 samples cleared to get that shit out. So
you'd hope you had a bulk
absolutely
deal,
insane that they were able to. So power to the person that did the sample clearing on that, because that would have been a full-time job for some time, I would say, to get all those samples cleared. So which an incredible feat.
Well, that was modular, as
exactly.
previously mentioned. But
exactly. So that was crazy. So I think that's it though. I guess if you're working in that sort of plunderphonics type thing, you're gonna have to get you. Well, it's odd though, because I have read a few people sort of saying, "Oh, look, why do I need to get? Should someone need to get a cleared sample for using 2 seconds of a 1958 surf record that's been long forgotten and no one knows anything about it?" It's not quite. In this case, with this song, obviously, the whole hook of this song is that Steve Winwood sample. They re-recorded it for this, obviously, but when you take that sort of sample, it's like, without that, the song wouldn't exist. But when you're the Avalanches and you're stitching together 100 couple of second samples to make this
Paul's
song.
Boutique, where it's
Paul's Boutique
bits
as
of
well.
songs that you wouldn't even recognise otherwise.
Yeah, DJ Shadow as well. So all those sorts of things where, especially when it's forgotten stuff, if it's a big hit, and you're trying to sample ABBA or something, as the KLF learnt, it's not really going to work. But if you're just sampling forgotten things you found in an op shop, it does sort of beg the question. You're creating something new from these parts that sort of, So anyway, so look, sampling, it's a crazy sort of thing, and I think unfortunately at the moment the rules around sampling does, get in the way of people from producing something new in that sort of hip hop world, I think. So if you have to get everything cleared, it doesn't give you that creative freedom to just sort of do things. So, and I understand that, you need to give the creator some sort of credit, but
I know what you mean. There's a difference between sampling and doing those hip hop covers, like we were talking, where it's like a song that you've just like you're getting an instrumental version and then doing a new rap over the top of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like mashups where you're taking 2 songs that happen to fit together and putting them together.
Yeah.
But it's half and half. And, like you say, just little sprinkled fragments of things that no one would be able to identify, really.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but
Exactly.
Well, who knows? Well, what else?
I've got the Last Catch-Up Award, Tom, for the worst attempt at getting a shit dance craze off the ground, and that, of course, goes to Soulja Boy for Crank That. Good on him for giving it a go. It was the biggest dance craze since the Macarena, apparently. So his song about masturbation, so good on him. So he was a true pioneer of that rapping style where no one has any idea what the fuck you're saying. You know, now how like mumble rap and that sort of like Soulja Boy was well ahead of his time and it's like, get a son there, got this Soulja Boy there. Like no one, you can't understand anything that's going on there. The follow-up single to Crank That, Kiss Me Through the Phone, is fucking full stupid. That shit's ridiculous. Makes no sense at all. How can you kiss me through the phone?
The name, how could you?
Yeah, exactly. So good on you to Soulja Boy there. The Entrance Award for a trash Eurobeats cover of a 20-year-old plus song. Really tough category, this one. The runner-up, I gave that to DJ Sammy for her cover of the Bryan Adams classic Heaven. And she also followed that up with The Boys of Summer, you may remember. So great hits. But for me, I had to give the award to Bass Hunter for their cover of Please Don't Go. So, which is Bass Hunters, another they're another great entrance style Eurobeat group that just pumps out some of the worst shit I've ever heard in my life. So I think we should point out Bass Hunters' oeuvre. Go and don't check any of it out. So it's no good.
Sure. What have you got a best video of the decade?
I do. Yeah. Well, I guess best video, or at least
you can do something else if you want.
No. It's sort of I had sort of interesting video. Is it the best? Not sure, but
sure.
I quite like Basement Jaxx. Where's your head at?
Yeah.
And I like that because there's that stupid science guy that's made like a puppet of a monkey dancing, and he's trying to show it to the dude. And he's like, "This is fucking the stupidest shit I've seen." He's all like sciencey, going, "Look at this," and then they go into the room and they've animated the faces onto some monkeys that are playing an instrument. So that's sort of been an Aphex Twin Award for like kind of weird entertaining videos.
I just clicked over. We're changing channels recently, and they were talking about some music video show, and they just mentioned in passing that video, and they said something about those monkeys being really, really hard to control in real life, which may explain why their sort of skitterish, terrifying energy when they go bad and start freaking out is kind of comes across so well in the film. The sort of horrified reaction of the people is not entirely acting. It's kind of like, wild monkeys just rip the room up and throw shit around.
Good. What have you got?
Well, I was going to go best video.
Yep.
Sure. Well, look, remember when I said that Daft Punk were the coolest band for 20 years? I know why you want me to hear me talk more about Daft Punk, but their second album for 2001 was so fucking good that it took people a few years to even realise how good it was. Still longer in America. Like, as mentioned last week, Discovery was clearly destroying the Black Eyed Peas' feeble brains as late as 2009. The two robots could have just bought big houses in Ibiza and done lazy videos with the local thoughts in their backyard for a decade. But they're not David Guetta, they're fucking Daft Punk. So instead, they spent $4 million to create an animated 65-minute dialogue-free anime movie called Interstellar 5555, the story of the secret star system, and all the S's are fives in that, just to show that they're French.
Yep.
The project took 3 years to produce in collaboration with Japanese designer Leiji Matsumoto. The 66-year-old had worked on films like Galaxy Express, 999, Arcadia and Akira over his 25-year career. And each of the characters on Interstellar 5555 portrays different visual styles of Matsumoto's animations throughout his career, which is the kind of detail that you would not get unless you were a real retro anime nerd, like, because they were all styled in particular. Like, one's a sort of 70s style anime character, one's a mid 70s, one's a late 80s style character, and that sort of thing. The whole thing looks 100% authentic and gorgeously hand animated, because it is, like, because they paid a guy to do it. Was this concept influenced by the majestically overblown 3-part November Rain trilogy? Yes, I'm saying that it was, but that's how influences work. Like, for instance, Daft Punk might be the coolest band who ever existed, but that doesn't mean that their entire look, vibe, and sound would exist without the intro sequence for the 1983 French-Japanese kids show Ulysses 31, composed by Shuki Levy and Haim Saban. As you may have guessed, that's my personal vote for best TV show theme of all time. And if you don't believe me about the Daft Punk thing, just listen to it. I shit you not. If you want to know where Daft Punk came from, watch that. And they're our age, so that means that they were watching it at the same age that I was, e.g. a very formative one.
Yep.
I don't know what was in the water in 1983, but there's also a second theme to that same TV show by Denny Crockett, which is a sort of funk rock Queen style thing that, while not as good as the Shuki Levy sort of electro version, is still better than any song, say, Bryan Adams wrote in his entire career. And I was going to ask, which cartoon theme show should be remixed on the charts right now, do you reckon?
Right now?
Yes, it's time for it to make a comeback.
Oh, look, I'd probably have to say Samurai Pizza Cats.
That was a good one. A lot of puns about cats going on in that, I think, as well.
Yeah, definitely that. But of course, also any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a perennial favourite.
T-U-R-T-L-E power.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that Kanye West did recently sample a hideous CGI character called Glob Glob Glab Glab from a terrible low-budget kids film called Straczynski and the Mysterious House.
Oh, did he?
So that could be next.
Good. It's good to see Kanye. He's always drawing from such a diverse array to sort of put together his sound collages, Tom. So that's what I respect about him the most.
People were joking about this at the time. That was one of his bizarre listening tours where he's sitting on the porch of a fake house in a football stadium next to a sexual predator with a hood over his head while this CGI sample thing's going glub, 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 glub.
He's an innovator, Tom.
Genius.
Yeah,
madness.
definitely.
Also, the only reason that he would ever know about that was because a couple of weird a couple of weird meme people had put that on obscure YouTube videos, which means that Kanye either is crazy enough that he'd seen this. No one's ever seen this fucking video thing, or he was watching YouTube influencers at 3 a.m. and went, "That's sample."
That's crazy. I'll use that. Yeah.
And one of the two places that it was, the guy was joking that he was listening to Donda, like he did a fake Donda with just stupid fake songs. The joke being that at this point Kanye West's so crazy that it might as well be this thing.
Yeah.
So it's possible that Kanye West was Googling Donda and came up with someone's fake Donda and thought that was funny and then put it in the actual
real
Donda.
thing. That's good.
So who knows? You can't tell with Kanye.
You cannot.
You never know.
You cannot. It's gone full circle though, Tom. It's sort of where does it start? Where does it end? Who does it know?
Look, and everyone should listen to Ulysses 31 soundtrack because it's fucking great. I'll put the links on here. There's dance remix and a rock cover and stuff. That's how good it is. Yeah. What have you got?
Well, that 65-minute video, they broke that up into a couple of songs. Is that right? I have seen a couple of songs.
There's 5 videos that are like excerpts from it because it has no lyrics. You can just pull out sections from it, but it does tell a whole story. So
Nice.
or 6. Sorry, it's 6 of their videos off that album come from that. But yeah.
Cool. The Limp Bizkit Award, Tom, for bands that should have stayed broken up goes to Buck Cherry, who in 2006 released their hit single Crazy Bitch. Hey, you're a crazy bitch, but you fuck so good. I'm on top of it. When I dream, I'm doing you all night. Scratches down my back to keep me right on. So you're a crazy bitch.
Wow.
And the video clip, I think they're in a prison, so it's really, really good. Are
there any hot girls in prison?
Oh, there aren't. No, there is. Yeah, the song is terrible, but I guess where did the band? They didn't really have anywhere else to go when their debut single was "I love that cocaine, I love that cocaine" in like a joke Scott Weiland voice. Like if someone said, "Can you do a Stone Temple Pilots like comedy impersonation?" That'd be me going, "I love that cocaine, I love that cocaine."
To me, it seemed like they were a band who'd seen that, apart from, as previously noted, apart from the Spaghetti Incident cover album, that Guns N' Roses weren't in a hurry to put anything out. They'd gone, hey, we can fill that vacuum, without going, the reason that Guns N' Roses haven't put anything out is because that sound doesn't really exist anymore. But going, no, we can fill a vacuum that's empty for a reason.
They were like,
But there were six. That song, that Lit, that was a kind of low key hit. That, you know, was it Lit Up?
Lit Up, yeah.
I'm on a plane with cocaine.
It's so fucking stupid when you look at it now. But yeah, they sort of
no stupider than Limp Bizkit.
No,
more fun than Limp Bizkit.
Yeah,
although
definitely.
you know,
Crazy
trimming
Bitch is
your
awful.
toenails is more fun than Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, I mean they sort of they were like an Aerosmith through a post grunge filter or something. I don't really know, but yeah. The Robbie Williams absolutely no need for you to be rapping ever award goes to the bass player from Korn, Fieldy, who released a rap album, Fieldy's Dreams, which features Vanilla Ice level quality raps from the Korn bassist.
Sure.
The song Baby Hugh Hef is one of the highlights from the album. Baby Hugh Hef, let me rub it in your face. I got millions in the bank from playing bass. Don't hate, cause you can't relate. I'm counting my money all the way to the bank. I've got everything I want and everything I see. I'm a pimp by blood, just like Jay-Z. Now, Jay-Z is arguably...
one difference between the two.
Well, that's the thing. I mean...
Maybe two pushed.
Whether he is or isn't, you know, a lot of people say that Jay-Z is one of the, you know, the better or best rappers that's, you know, been around. And, you know, you can agree with that or you can't. But at least people make the argument for that. So comparing yourself to Jay-Z is quite the stretch, considering this is some of the worst rapping I have heard since Vanilla Ice. There's a full album of this. I don't think he released a follow-up. But, yeah, I don't know. The chorus also features him saying, I'm baby Hugh Hef, Korn brings the porn. So, I don't know what that even means.
And isn't the image of baby Hugh Hef just an awesome thing to put into your listeners' brains?
I don't know. Pretty bad. So, on a similar note to the Buck Cherry one, I've got the One Direction. The band should have stayed together as now they've broken up and the individual members are all releasing Pure Bullshit Award. That goes to Motley Crue, Tom, because Tommy Lee went on to have a pretty shit solo career.
Yeah.
His song Hold Me Down, Tom. Imagine Tommy Lee trying to do his very best Crazy Town impersonation, but falling short of the quality imparted on the world by Shifty Shell Shock. And that's about where you're getting with that Motley Crue, Tommy Lee solo song.
Yeah.
He did have another stab at it later in the decade where he went for like a Jack Johnson, I'm just a sort of acoustic beach dude sort of situation, which was worse than the rap metal phase, if you can believe that. And of course, Tommy Lee was, that's his solo work. He was also in Methods of Mayhem.
Oh,
you may recall as well,
of course. Yeah.
Which is absolutely terrible.
That was sort of a poor man's Motley Crue, which at that point had turned into a sort of poor man's Limp Bizkit, which is very poor. That man is broke, motherfucker.
So that was terrible.
Broke, man.
Yeah, and of course the other members as well. Vince Neil has been doing solo shit 30 years past his prime. I mean, that dude he's a worse singer than I think I am at this stage, if he could ever sing at all. And he's looking real puffy and out of shape. And we shouldn't forget that he's a murderer as well, so we should just throw that out there. His shit's been terrible. And then Nikki Sixx has been an array of dog shit, wannabe Motley Crue bands, 6 a.m, all kinds of trash. So all of them, I think, I don't know, they've all done garbage, so they probably should have stayed together.
Well, Tommy Lee's star has probably risen just a tiny bit recently with the release of Tommy and Pam.
Yep.
Pammy, that HBO series, or HBO style series, which paints him in a quite sympathetic light, which I'm not entirely sure if he actually deserves, if we're being honest. I mean, it's hard to tell between the tabloid reports of things that he got up to, e.g. being a wife beater and stuff, the divorce reports, which are always, you know, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard style, highly exaggerated, skewed versions from both sides.
Yeah.
And the sort of biography style, it's all a joke, hey, you know, look, I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm basically a cool dude with a huge dick kind of thing. It's hard to tell where the actual truth is, but, you know, who knows?
Oh, absolutely.
If I was him, I'd settle for my many, many gold records and everybody thinks you've got a huge dick.
Yeah, just
in fact, it's amazing he didn't do a third spin-off of Rock of Love called Cock of Love, where people win a chance to...
There's still time.
Bang.
Absolutely still time. Definitely.
Look, I had a smaller award just for fave diss track. Personally, I go for Rockin' the Suburbs by Ben Folds.
Oh, yeah?
Ben Folds is easy to dislike. On the one hand, he's collegiate, kind of smarmy, used to tour with Ben Lee and Ben Queller at the same time. And plus, this song was licensed to both Over the Hedge and Marley and Me. On the other hand, he has undeniably good lyrics, and this song is catchy as fuck. I'm not sure if you agree or not, but I definitely think it's got catchiness. Look, I love a good diss song, and this song trashes the mainstream new metal scene, which had already turned into a sort of self-parodying disaster by the time Korn were on the Family Values tour, getting blazed on stage with Ice-T and pink Adidas-sponsored sequin track pants before riding a gold BMX around in circles and singing about how people called you a faggot in grade 7. In Launceston, any gender of any age can get called a faggot simply by standing near passing traffic and being alive, but somehow nobody felt the need to start a drop D abusing twang fest with a turntable up the back on the strength of that. Rockin' the Suburbs, just like Quiet Riot did, Rockin' the Suburbs, except that they were talented. I'm Rockin' the Suburbs, I take the checks and face the facts that some producer with computers fixes all my shitty tracks. Did Ben Folds invent Linkin Park, do you think?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Let's say they didn't not invent them.
Yep.
Basically, this song does for new metal what Pulp's Sorted for Ease and Wiz did for rave culture, e.g. make you feel slightly ridiculous for liking it in the first place. But that's the magic of music,
Yep.
You can like both things. You can like this song while also liking the first few albums from Korn, Rage and System of a Down. You can like Josh Winks and Pulp. You can like the Beastie Boys and Hooker with a Penis by Tool,
Yeah.
Just don't tell Maynard or he'll kick you fair in the ghoulies with a spiky platform goth boot he bought it off your tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seems to be where he's doing most of his shopping these days.
I think so.
And his makeup purchases and hair products as well, if you've seen him recently.
Yep.
Yeah. What have you got?
The MC Scat Cat Award, the MC Scat Cat Memorial Award, Tom, for Best Animated Character Song, and that one goes to Hampton the Hamster for the Hamster Dance.
One of the many Crazy Frog follow-ups.
Which reached number 5 in Australia and makes MC Scat Cat look like Prince, comparatively. Legit gives Crazy Frog a run from his money for most annoying vocal performance. Hampton the Hamster doubled down with a cover of Thank God I'm a Country Boy after this. Let's just say it is fucking annoying as shit. So if you love Crazy Frog, give Hampton the Hamster a go. So
let's just say John Denver, looking down from heaven, was probably glad he took his ultralight out for a flight that day once he heard that cover.
You wouldn't want to be alive when that came out, I think. So he's in a better place, wherever that may be, in the ground, just dead. But I guess what you've got to understand, Tom, is that after the success of Crazy Frog, there really was a grunge-style rush from the record labels to find that next ringtone character to sell millions and millions of albums. And look, it was easy for the grunge guys. They're in LA, they get on a plane to Seattle, it's an hour or two away, they get up there, they go to a show, they just see some guy going, oh, it's down again, sign that, you sell 5 million albums. It was easy for them to find the next grunge band, but it's not easy to find the next Crazy Frog. I mean, for one, they don't actually exist, they're not sort of a real thing, they're just sort of animated, but they were looking for that talent. They saw the talent of Crazy Frog, they saw the sales of Crazy Frog, and they said, we need someone else to come in here with that much talent, an animated ringtone type character that can sell millions of albums. And look, Hampton the Hamster, right place, right time. They got that guy involved. And look, the rest is history. Some of the most annoying shit known to man. I've also got the Crazy Town Award for pushing rap rock to its logical conclusion.
Sure.
Swizz Beatz featuring Ja Rule and Metallica, who did it again. So this is around the Sananga period of Metallica when they're at an all-time low. Yeah. For whatever reason, they agreed to team up with Ja Rule and Swizz Beatz for fuck knows what this is.
My lifestyle
it's rap, it's rock, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't think Metallica talk about it at all.
What was Ja Rule's hit? Remind me.
Oh, did he even have a
kind of
hit?
disappeared. Yeah, I don't know. Not a. I mean, hit might be stretching it.
Yeah. I
What
think-
enabled him to perform with Metallica other than a desperate desire for that filthy lucre?
Yeah, I don't know. Is Ja Rule just who you get when you phone up?
Can't get Jay-Z.
Yeah, exactly. You phone up DMX and he's busy. So it's like, we'll see what Ja Rule's up to. What's definitely. Or who's the dude that does the Pimp My Ride? Who hosts that again?
Exhibit.
Yeah. Exhibit's not. He's busy. So let's get Ja Rule on the
Ludacris
phone.
thinks your suggestion is ludicrous.
Yeah. So it's the reason that's so bad is that I forgot that Metallica had sort of teamed up with someone to do like a rap rock thing.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And yeah, it was pretty bad. So yep. Bob Geldof Award, Tom, for
Yep.
worst charity song. Artists Against AIDS Worldwide. What's going on now? It's not great, but what takes it to next level terrible is the inclusion of Fred Durst. And he does
He
a
has
rap
that effect,
verse
yeah.
after like an actual rapper, and the juxtaposition in quality is something to behold. So yeah, I don't really know. I think it's sort of one of those things where the AIDS patients don't really want the cure if
No.
it's funded by a Fred Durst rap verse. I think
Don't
so.
want it. Don't
No,
need it.
exactly. So terrible.
Also, I'd put that on Fred's manager for allowing him to go next in the queue after an actual rapper.
Yeah, not so great.
If you're doing that, you're not doing your job, you know.
Absolutely. Def Leppard, Let's Get Rocked Award for music video with horribly aged CGI goes to The Offspring for Hit That. So,
Don't know
might
that
not have
one.
seen that one, but
What happens in that one?
someone's just wearing this blue mask. It looks real bad. Like it's sort
okay.
of like someone's in the metaverse, but with like 1995 technology.
Sure.
So,
I think they used that Black Eyed Peas entering the Matrix technology.
yeah, exactly. And look, certainly for me, Tom, the Tom Cochrane Award for lyrical cultural impact must go to Metallica. You mentioned it before. Frantic, tick, 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 frantic, tick, tick. Great. And which of course features the seminal lyric, "My lifestyle determines my death style."
Also, that frantic tick, it's hard to explain, or it's not too hard to explain if you try just saying it yourself with your mouth, but it's fucking irritating. I don't know what. It's just annoying. Like, it just, yeah.
Yep. I can't recall whether it's Frantic or the actual song Senanga where they filmed the video clip in San Quentin prison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, the dude, these are hardcore dudes that are in prison for some serious offences. And they hear Metallica's coming, they're like, okay, sick. I hope they play, Fight Fire with Fire or, something off Master of Puppets, whatever the case may be. Everyone's pumped up. They show up and do my lifestyle determines my death style. And I think even if you're on death row, you'd be just wanting them to end it. You'd basically be like, I was going to appeal my sentence, but let's just do it now. Let's get me in the electric chair because I don't want to see this. I'm more let down now than a 25-year sentence having to listen to this. This is
Now,
terrible.
if the next song was offload, you'd be looking at a full-scale riot in that place, wouldn't you?
Definitely right. So I mean
That one where it's wearing a pink feather boa and Lars has got his nipple rings out and stuff.
until it
Jesus.
sleeps, yeah.
There'd be people throwing bottles.
Yeah,
And that'd
but-
be the guards throwing bottles.
Oh, it would be absolutely. I mean, the snare sound on that album alone on Senanga is probably probably a few deaths in San Quentin.
Is that
afterwards.
the one where there's a unofficial version where it was featured in there was a Guitar Hero version of Saint Anger when they were releasing individual albums for Guitar Hero, because Guitar Hero's heyday was in the mid-aughts, and apparently to play better through TV speakers and stuff, that one of the video game people did a reproduction of Saint Anger,
okay.
and supposedly it's way better than the original. Like, you can find it on the internet if you want it. Supposedly he fixed the snare and put the bass back up and stuff.
It can't be worse, I tell you what. So it has a real pingy snare that I don't even, I don't think anyone's using a snare with that much ping, even those sort of bands that play in genres where you want the pingiest snare possible. No one's really doing that. So, yeah, look, it doesn't surprise me that that's a shit version. Sorry that there's a better version out there than that. I think for me, personally, I don't think you want to do that. I don't think you want to fix it up. I don't think you want to replace that snare. I think you want it to be there forever as sort of a testament to people doing crazy things with music when you've got a big budget band like Metallica that have money to do whatever they want, and someone in the studio went, yeah, that's the exact snare sound we want.
Yeah.
Which is probably just Lars saying that's what I want. Everyone just was like too pussy to be like, no, I don't want that. So, yeah, good stuff for my lifestyle determines my death style.
Shall we do best song, worst song?
Absolutely.
Best album, worst album?
Yeah. Hit me up.
I don't have all of those, but
No. Whatever you've got, you do it. I've just got worst song. And that's about it.
You got best song or just worst?
I don't have best song. It's too hard.
All right. Well, maybe you don't need. You go first. Hang on, my computer's being.
So I've got worst video of the decade. There's a couple of nominations for this. First one is Lost Prophets, a town called Hypocrisy, Tom. Now, are you familiar with the Lost Prophets story?
No, I'm not.
Well, let's just say the vocalist from the Lost Prophets was convicted of Michael Jackson level offences, and he's in prison, I think, for the rest of his life.
Yep.
So I don't want to talk too much about that, but imagine being a convicted pedophile and not too many years before that releasing a video that's kind of like a Jimmy Savile parody video where he is on like a kids show. He's the host of a kids show, kind of like a Jimmy Savile type character, but sort of saying all this sexual innuendo and being a bit creepy. So you're sort of parodying a dude that's a sexual predator and offender, and it's a real creepy sort of vibe on the video clip. And then you fast forward a couple of years and that dude is convicted of those crimes. It's just way too much. It's like knowing now sort of what he's been convicted of. It's just a terrible video anyway, but then that combined, it's just a real fucking creep fest. So that's just worst of the decade in terms of like, it's impossible to watch. But the other worst of the decade, I think for me personally, Tom, is Nickelback Photograph. So
the video,
Look at this photograph.
or the song.
Well, the song's appalling, but if you've watched the video, obviously the start of him holding up a frame with a photo in it, it's been, memed about 1 billion times.
His expression is so gormlessly twattish that it became a meme. Yeah.
And then the rest of the video is here. This is a red flag. If you see a guy walking around the streets with an acoustic guitar strapped to his back, just stay away from that guy because nothing good can ever come of it. It's either going to be some unknown dude trying to play you his songs, going, check out my new song and buy my CD, or it's going to be the dude from Nickelback going, can I play a song? Either way, it's it's a sort of lose-lose situation where no one is going to come out of that well. So it's just him walking around like that, and then he goes to his old school gym, I guess, and they just play the song, and it's real fucked. So yeah, just shitty and boring.
Oh man, yeah, that's not great.
Yep.
Look, I don't know if I've ever seen. I think I'm imagining that I've seen it, but I think I've just seen meme compilations of the first 5 seconds of his stupid paddle pop line shaped head. But yeah, look, best pop song. There's some good stuff in the aughts. I couldn't think of a single musical genre that dominated the way grunge did in the 90s, but, there was some good stuff. Paper Planes by MIA, you could use that to stop riots. Yep. 99 Problems, you could use that to start riots. 15 Steps, Crescendos, Aerodynamic, everything in its right place. The Soulwax remix of Gravity's Rainbow, they're all fucking rad. But I'm going to go with the 2003 song Heartbeats by The Knife from their awesome second album, Deep Cuts. The follow-up album, Silent Shout, is also fantastic. The single on that one, We Share Our Mother's Health, is more sophisticated song than Heartbeats, and also you can dance to it. But I just really like this one because it sort of cuts a bit deeper. I reckon Karen pairs it back to reveal these sort of raw nerves of melancholy and lust and yearning and the alienness of other humans. That's my personal opinion. The song charted pretty much nowhere except Sweden. Although the gorgeous acoustic classical guitar cover by Jose Gonzalez did better, it was also used in a very cool Sony Bravia commercial, which was played all over the world. So similar to old Scribe, that always helps.
Yep.
So that might prove your theory that the cover is always better than the original,
Certainly.
at least in chart success terms. But I reckon it proves how strong the core of the song is because it's a completely different version. Beneath Karen Dryer's gorgeous icy vocals and her brother Olof's ridiculously awesome noises and beats that somehow make a marimba sound like the coolest shit out. Look, I know you hate steel drums, Ben, but Olof's got a knack for making various tropical sounding instruments contrast against the sort of icy insular weirdness of the vocals. It's like eating a Goulburn Valley 4 fruits on a glacier beneath the Aurora Borealis. Just like I told the chick at Woolies when I was high on mushrooms in the tin vegetable aisle. Yeah, Sweden kicks another goal. I wish they'd do more of this shit and less Max Martin. But yeah, who's your favourite Scandi power group, Ben? Were you keen to watch the hologrammatic ABBA reunion, which apparently is the coolest shit out?
No, I don't believe in hologram performances while the people are still alive. That's a hard rule
it seems
for
a bit
me,
lazy, doesn't it, really?
I think so. I think once you're dead, if you want to hologram it up, go ahead. But if you're just, I can't be fucked touring, so I'm just going to send the holograms in. I've got no time for that. So, look, it's obviously Roxette. I mean, they're the hardest of the Swedish crew, but Scandinavia in general just they hit pretty hard. Don't they?
Punch above their weight
across all the genres. So for sure, yeah.
Maybe it's all that training they get at the Eurovision Song Contest.
I think so.
Pushing them. That the UK's failure to take the Eurovision Song Contest seriously may explain their lack of worldwide chart success in the recent years, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe if they did a bit more of that yellow fox, gay, banana-related dudes in suits rap folk action that, you know, does so well at the moment.
Absolutely.
Look, what else have you got? You got anything? Best, worst song?
Worst song of the decade.
Yeah, let's do it.
Tom, look, the worst song of the decade is pretty clear, but as we mentioned before, Crazy Frog is sort of off limits, I guess, due to the non-musical and more commodity nature of the song. And it isn't Who Let the Dogs Out that from the Baha Men that's particularly bad, or Crazy Frog, Axel F, but the unholy allegiance of Crazy Frog featuring the Baha Men, Who Let the Frogs Out, takes things to a level that I think if played too many times, the earth may sort of collapse in on itself in sort of a black hole type situation. Now, if you've heard Who's Let the Dogs Out, obviously. Yeah.
Yes, cool.
Imagine Who Lets the Dogs Out, but then having Crazy Frog just after them saying actually they've changed the lyrics to so the Baha Men sing Who Let the Frogs Out, and then Crazy Frog just going meh, 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 meh. That's the song.
Wow.
It is beyond shit.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty fucking terrible, but it's off limits because, you know, we're banning Crazy Frog from being that. So my worst song of the decade, Tom, is, if you're familiar with it, Alligator, the Whistle Song.
Don't know that one.
Imagine D tier, maybe even F tier Eurobeats with Alligator, spelt incorrectly as well, might I add, just saying, blow my whistle, baby, and then it's just someone with a whistle going, whistling.
Peep, 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 peep.
Just whistling with a shitty like referee whistle over Eurobeats for about 5 minutes. And then Alligator comes in with, well, you know, I don't like to use the word rap, but some sort of pseudo rap. It is just appallingly shit.
Yes.
So, and the thing is that while even the Black-Eyed, and you know, this is probably a stretch, but I think even will.i.am, we've heard how unself-aware they are in the interviews, but even with that boom, 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 there seems to be a little bit of playfulness with it.
Yeah. Even
though it is total shit, and will.i.am does sound like he, you know, believes that he's changing the world with this sort of stuff, but there is a little, the Black Eyed Peas with Fergie, there is a little bit of playfulness in their music.
Yeah.
Alligator is playing a straight bat on this one.
Yeah.
He's dead serious. He looks like a sort of a dude that was rejected from sort of like a Korn cover band, maybe. Like there's a bit of an off-brand new metal look to him, and he looks as serious as music gets. While he's just playing some beats that he got off a sort of free beat CD, and then whistling over the top of it. So,
and as we all know, as serious as music gets is as serious as cancer.
Exactly.
Black Box.
Rhythm is a dancer. Yep.
Told us. Yeah.
So for me, I listened to a few songs that I thought were pretty bad, and this is definitely the worst one that I heard.
That one. It's fucking terrible.
But there were a lot of Scooter songs that I checked out as well, which were pretty bad. In the sort of the same sort of ilk of terrible.
I could imagine them
shit.
doing a remix of the Whistle song.
Yeah.
Also, if you're not familiar with sort of raving stuff, there was a period when it was considered acceptable to bring a whistle along to enhance, your participation in dance music. That period was called 1989, when ecstasy was still novel and you'd get lifesaver-sized fucking white doves for £5 at the rave, and then nobody gave a fuck what the whistle sounded like. Yep. And since about 3 or 4 years after that, anybody who brings a whistle to any sort of dance party thing is going to get a punch in the face because it's fucking irritating.
So Alligator was about 15 years late on this,
and really played into the entire irritating as fuck part of the whole thing.
Yeah, very dark days. So that's for me worst song of the decade. Worst number one of the decade. This is a tough one as well, but. For my mind, Tom, I think it's really difficult to go past I Wish I Was a Punk Rocker with Flowers in My Hair.
Yeah.
I had a look through the list, and it's easy to shit on the Black Eyed Peas because they are fucking terrible.
Is.
But there's something about that song that's just so irritating.
It's really obnoxious.
It has no music for a start. There's just some clapping in the background or whatever the fuck it is. And then the lyrics are so inane that it makes the Black Eyed Peas sound like, a sort of Bob Dylan type poet, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like she's tried, whereas the Black Eyed Peas just sound like they're phoning it in, so you expect it to suck. But like Fergie, I don't know how the first 3 verses. I'll just say, oh shit, 48 times.
Yeah.
That'll fill it till I get to the bit about London Bridge. What does that mean? Don't care. But that one sounds like she's trying to say something, and it's just inane, terrible.
Well, there's a lack of knowledge of punk music that's so,
yes,
even baseline.
Whether you believe her excuses or not, it sucks either way. It sucks whether you do believe her or whether you don't believe her. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, anyway, it sucks. I'm glad she didn't go on to do anything else because I think it's that bad that it's everything that she got post that she sort of deserves, which is nothing, I guess. So there you go. What do you got for me, Tom?
I totally agree with you. Look, this decade had some tough times. It truly did. What's Shitter? Boom Boom Pow, All My Humps. What about Punk Rocker? What about Life is a Roller Coaster by Ronan Keating? DJ Otzi's Hey Baby, or his other song, Chocolate Starfish in the Hot Dog Flavoured Water, Get Munked.
Yeah.
David Hasselhoff's cover of Jump in My Car by the Ted Mulry Gang.
Yeah.
Niz Loppy's The JCB song, which is often used in emergency rooms on overdose cases to induce vomiting. Rude by Magic, the master recording of which was discovered in the underpants of a dead hippie. Or The Animal Song by Savage Garden, which makes me want Darren Hayes to get disemboweled by a jaguar.
Yep.
Yeah, with the superabundance of choice, I had to go personal again with this one and vote for one that just gave me the shits that I can't even fully explain why, which is Hey There Delilah by the Plain White Tees, a band whose name, if anything, oversells the level of excitement they're capable of delivering.
Yep.
Obviously, the song is a twangy, god-awful pile of shit about a relationship that never existed from a virgin in a punk band named after the Coles brand clothes his mum is still buying for him. But what sets this one apart from your average Black Eyed Peas audio shit blast is the stalking scenario played out in the song. Now, sure, we make a lot of hilarious jokes on this show, Ben. Sometimes people grab my arm in the street pleading with me to be less funny because they just can't physically handle it. But normally when we joke about a song involving stalking, it is just a joke, even that one by the Billy Ocean impersonator, who, as far as we know, has still not been found guilty.
No.
But I'm sorry to say that the true tale behind this song paints a much darker picture. The title, Hey There Delilah, comes from Delilah Di Crescenzo, a very successful professional runner who just missed out on the 2012 Olympic team in America. She was back home in Chicago while on break from Columbia University. She had a boyfriend already, but met a guy at a party who was in this band called The Plain White Tees and told her he was going to write a song about her. She left immediately, as you would.
Yep.
But a few months later, Tom Higginson visited her house to drop off a CD. One of the tracks was called Hey There Delilah. Hey there Delilah, what's it like in New York City? I'm 1,000 miles away, but girl, tonight you look so pretty. Times Square can't shine as bright as you, I swear it's true. Hey there Delilah, don't you worry about the distance. I'm right there if you get lonely. Give this song another listen, close your eyes. Listen to my voice, it's my disguise. I'm by your side. Now, clearly he is by her side in the next apartment, breathing through the holes in a rubber pig mask as he methodically installs a webcam in her adjoining toilet wall. The whole Chicago thing is an alibi that will fool nobody in court, and none of this is to mention the general shitness of the rest of the song, which contains lines like, Hey there Delilah, you be good and don't you miss me. 2 more years and you'll be done with school and I'll be making history like I do. Which presumably made Delilah think, wow, for a child molester, this guy's a really patronising, delusional, narcissistic dickhead. Or 1,000 miles seems pretty far, but they've got planes and trains and cars. So that's a patronising pedophile who's just stepped out of a fucking time machine, apparently agog at the miracle of internal combustion. Or, hey there, Delilah, I've got so much left to say. If every single song I wrote to you would take your breath away, I'd write it all. Even more in love with me, comma, you'd fall. A statement which manages to threaten his underage victim and the listener and the English language with an eternity of suffering. But Tom, you're being mean. This is romantic. It's like a Hugh Grant movie. This isn't really written by a stalker about a chick who he met for 2 minutes at a party. Okay. Delilah, I can promise you that by the time we get through, the world will never ever be the same, and you're to blame.
Ooh.
So he kept their lungs to use as oven mitts. But do you think they ever found the rest of the body? just the lungs. I mean, they do make good oven mitts. You got to dry them out first, I've been told, by the guy from Plain White Tees.
Yeah, it's
2
a
minutes
shit song.
at a party, had a boyfriend.
Look, it's a fucking terrible song, but I'd never really looked into the backstory. Now it's just horribly disturbing. I remember the song being terrible.
Look, I may have exaggerated slightly, but those last couple of lines are fairly chilling to me. They sound a lot like a manifesto to me. Yeah. Also, the song just makes me want to punch a fucking hole in a wall. It's so bad. And it was everywhere. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I guess we got to compare. So the lyrics from your worst song of the decade. And look, with the whistle song from Alligator, obviously it does feature a lot of whistling. That's the main bit. But when Alligator does drop his rap, Tom, it does feature the lyrics, blow my whistle, bitch.
Yep.
Open up, put it in, let's begin, blow it like you mean it, blow. So, I mean, that could mean anything, as it works on a lot of levels. So, but yeah, Alligator, and then the rest of it's just, now you're doing it like you're supposed to, now you're doing it, just blow a little louder now, blow your whistle, bitch, blow the edge up like a laser-guided missile. So, Alligator is very much a lyricsmith, a wordsmith. Not great, but there's not so much of a stalking element to this.
At least he's directly instructing someone to perform oral sex on him.
Yeah.
You know, he's up front.
Well, I think if the video is to be believed, it's just blowing a literal whistle, I think.
Okay.
So, because there's a lot of whistle in the video, so he might just actually mean, blow that whistle. So
I'm not sure what alligators' genitals look like, so perhaps they do have, sound producing penises.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is much creepier. He claims to be 1,000 miles away, but he's fooling no one. He's obviously jumped straight on a train and followed her to New York so he can, sit in a park behind a newspaper with holes cut in the eyes and just following her around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just gives me, I don't know why, it just gives me a really bad vibe. Have you heard Ms. Loopy, the JCB song?
No.
Oh my god, that's a particularly weird one. I thought about doing that. It's probably a better song in songwriting terms. It's like, we were talking about it before with, I couldn't remember their name. Mumford & Son and the fucking, the three guys, the Kings of Leon. They're like once every 5 years somehow is allowed to be one folk number one.
Yeah.
You know, and that was this British one. It's another UK shit song. It's about this guy having a day off with his dad, and he gets to, when he was a little kid, and he gets to sit in his dad drives a JCB, an excavator, and he gets to sit up the front and goes long. But yeah, it's very, very nauseatingly sung. He kind of does it in this cutesy little kid-ish Cockney voice, like this fake. It's just, it's very irritating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have heard that. It does suck.
It's also got this shitty cartoon. It looks like it's like one of those bad videos that if you let your kids watch, you know, the shark.
Baby Shark, yeah.
The Baby Shark video, but you don't keep monitoring them, and it just keeps going to next suggested video. Like, you come back in the room 20 minutes later and they're watching some Taiwanese thing that might be a kid's cartoon based on a pirated copy of a pop song from 10 years ago, or it might be some sort of CGI recreation of a real-life murder that happens, but with the characters changed to cartoon animals.
Exactly.
You know?
And you leave it on for half an hour more, and it's just a guy reading out Mein Kampf. So the algorithms seem to be skewed in such a direction. But I also had the King Missile, what the fuck was that award?
Sure.
The Mouldy Peaches, Tom. Who's got the crack, if you can remember that? I've mentioned it. I'll put it in the playlist. It is one of those just, what the hell is this?
I remember the song, the band title. What was Who's Got the Crack? Is it Irish crack or just crack?
It's just crack.
Oh, okay. So they're just asking you who's got the crack because I want some of the crack. Okay,
I think so. It's just real weird. It's you know, sometimes you listen to a song and it's like, is this from 1991 or is this from 2013 or is this from this year? Like, you can't quite tell
Are they doing
where
that
it's
on
from
purpose,
and what.
or is it?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems a bit weird. So I just wanted to mention that to throw into the place. Did you have like a best album or something? Did you end up having that? Because I didn't have one. But if you've got,
but I don't know if anyone needs to hear that. I was just going to say there was so much good stuff album-wise. Like, the albums are on the way out. Chuck Klosterman wrote a good article about Chinese democracy where he was saying, like, this might be the last album that people have really waited for, like this, an eagerly awaited
that long.
as a single thing, you know, because I mean, I guess you could say people are awaiting Donda 2 or whatever, but they're sort of awaiting it the same way they're watching a train crash and waiting for it to stop, you know, like it's kind of an ongoing process. They're not, it's not like this product that's going to come out at some point.
Oh, exactly. I mean, and especially the way that Kanye releases music these days, where he brings out his own knockoff iPod to put it on. But even before that, he you know, you release the album and then he's like, that verse is a bit whack, so he'd go and re-record it, or he'd put a bit more in a song or cut a bit out. So you'd listen to the album on a streaming service, and then you might go back a week later and go, wait a minute, there's like 2 extra songs and that bit's different. So it's a work in progress. Whereas Chinese democracy, once they've pressed those discs up, it's there forever.
Yeah. It's only those 10 years to get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean,
you're right.
Well, by that logic, that would make this decade like the last decade of the sort of album as a product.
Of course,
you know. And there was a lot of good stuff like Discovery, Rated R by Queens of the Stone Age, 1999 by Cassius, The Isness, OK Cowboy, I Might Be Wrong, Attack, Decay, Sustain, Release, Turn on the Bright Lights by Interpol, Idealism, Kid A, In Rainbows. But yeah, I was just going to be honest and go with the album that I listened to the most number of times, I reckon, that decade, which would have to be Hail to the Thief by Radiohead. It's nobody's favourite Radiohead album, but it came out shortly after I moved interstate for the first time. I could only bring like 3 CDs with me. I didn't even have a computer, let alone the internet. And so when it came out, I had to get it, even though I was unemployed and penniless. And it just lived in my little discount Kmart second-hand hard rubbish CD player just for like a year. Like, it's too long. The track programming is all over the shop. It's sort of the songs go, you know, the mood changes all over the place, and there's no cohesive theme other than Tom York should probably stop watching the news so much. But fuck, it really does have some good stuff on it, I reckon. it's one of those rare albums with maybe too many cool ideas. Like
Yeah.
maybe they should have split it up like Kid A and Insomniac. But I still do love it. I don't play it that much these days, but it just reminds me of a time when rent was cheap. I had a 30-inch waist, and all I had to worry about was 2 major international wars and all those sneaky Sharia Muslims that were definitely going to swim over and kill us all any minute now.
They
You
were.
just wait. It's a clash of civilizations, Ben. Just ask the smartest men on the internet who were later proved right when that exact thing happened. Yeah,
Exactly.
We should have listened to them, you know.
Now, remind me, Tom, was In Rainbows the one that they released for free to download and you could name your price, or was that
Yes.
this?
No,
Yeah.
In Rainbows was the one. That's probably...
That's something else
Yeah.
we haven't talked about.
That's
That
a
was an
great
innovative
one. Yeah.
thing at the time. Radiohead
I
just
thought
dropped
that
the
was
album
a-
for download. Pay whatever you want. You pay nothing.
Yep.
You can pay $100.
Yeah.
And I think that I remember Radiohead saying afterwards that I think the average price they got like $10 or something per download, like
Yep.
the average. So so it sort of averaged out to being pretty
Yeah.
much what people would probably pay for like a
Yeah.
down. So name your price, and so that was
No, I
at
thought
the
that
time
was-
super innovative. Yeah.
I thought that was a good compromise between the old model and like the shitty U2 giving it away for free whether you fucking want it or not experiment.
Oh, that's the wackest release of the decade.
Yeah,
that, I think,
yeah,
where
that
they just
was a
threw it
real
on. Was that
fumble.
this decade, or was that...
I think that was the
early?
one after.
Yeah. Anyway.
But and there was like, if you wanted a fancy vinyl version, you could pay for that, or there was like an extended.
What did they do with Hail to the Thief? Was that just more of a traditional release thing? They just said it's out now, here's some CDs?
It
or were
was
they
more
sort of-
traditional,
Yep.
but it was after. So they did OK Computer, that was the huge one. Then they did Kid A and I Might Be Wrong, which were the sort of experimental-y electronic ones. So Hail to the Thief was back to more guitar rock
Yep.
stuff. But it's very angry and kind of all over the place, probably because of what was going on in the world, as the title would suggest.
Yep.
But yeah, it's got some really excellent stuff on it. It really does. In Rainbows is a better album, but I listened to that so many times. Like, I had nothing else, but yeah, it just time travels me back to that place. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tom York he released a solo album on a BitTorrent client at the same time. Remember that? Around the same time? Like,
Yeah.
He released his album and said you can just download it off a torrent site and then you can PayPal me some money or whatever. I can't remember the payment structure, but yeah,
They
you
were
could definitely
really
just do that. They would
ahead
try
of
and...
stuff with internet shit.
Yep.
They had way back then, they had a sort of online community, and they put heaps of effort into their websites. Like, they would make these really cool looking websites that would update constantly, and the members of the band would sometimes go on like chat stuff on their sites as as other people, so they could under it.
Yep.
Anonymous names, which also kept the fans hanging around and that sort of thing. So yeah, they actually had this kind of online community, but probably because they're all secretly nerds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like that stuff, they sort of, that helps you be a bit ahead of the time. E.g., figuring out that that's a cool thing to do instead of just making people have it on their iPod or doing iPod commercials, which fucking Bono was doing around this time. They were one of those early. You remember the iPod ads with the white,
Yes, I
black
do.
silhouette, white iPod and stuff, and then U2 were licensing their songs out. And I'm sure they told themselves, well, I've got an iPod, it's a cool invention, but at the same time, you're already going, dudes, licensing shit out for ads, that's already starting to look bad.
Oh, yeah.
This is a young band's game when, you need the money and you've got nothing to live for.
Exactly right. So, Tommy, I didn't have an album of the decade, but I did have a single of the decade. So I just mentioned that really quickly. As we mentioned before, with Cisco, I like when an artist evolves. We saw him move from the thong song to La Thong, operating in a second language, really sort of developing his work, his style. And for me, the song of the decade shows another artist that I enjoyed back in the 90s, Guru Josh, with his hit Infinity, some of the sexiest solo work known to man outside of Rex and Effect's Rump Shaker. Well, in 2008, he made a comeback and he released a new single by the name of Infinity 2008. So he'd reworked his own song, he'd done a cover, and as you know, the cover's always better than the original, and for my mind, a cover of your own song is always better because he's had 18 years to sort of really work on it. He's released that in 1990. He said, wait a minute, that was fantastic. It's a 9.5 out of 10. How can I take that to a 10 out of 10? worked on that for 18 years, released it, and it's a bona fide classic. It's my song of the decade. It's, my song of the 90s as well and the 2000s. So one can only hope he re-releases it again. I know he's dead now, but hopefully he gets a chance to drop it sometime before his death or even after death. Or maybe Lou Bega can incorporate it into one of his songs. And we can continue to love Infinity as the song of the decade. This decade, next decade, every decade until the end of time, Tom. So that's my number one song of the 2000s. Cool. Well, thanks for listening. Have you got anything else?
No. Sorry about that bit about the album at the end. That was a bit indulgent.
Oh, that's fine. So we'll put together a playlist with all the songs we've talked about.
Sure.
There was so much shit this decade. I had to really narrow it down.
Yeah,
but
it was all over the place. All genres, all bouncing around. Yeah.
We didn't talk about any Idol fuckers in this final episode because there were too many number one songs during the course with that crap.
Exactly.
I couldn't believe it when I sort of started thinking about what are some really bad songs, and then
I discounted them. I put them aside because otherwise it would have just been all reality TV show twats. Yeah.
So thanks for listening. We'll be back soon with the next decade, 2010. So we're getting close to present day. We've only got 10 years and then another couple of years the next decade.
Soon you'll be able to talk about Tones and I, which I know
Tones and I is coming next decade, I think. So that's exciting times. Or was that 20? I can't even remember when it was. It feels like 1,000 years ago. But Little Nas X, we'll get to talk about him at some stage as well.
Yes.
Do you think Little Nas X did he have to phone up Nas and say, "Dude, I'm gonna call myself Little Nas X"? Is that how it works in hip hop sort of circles?
Maybe he was called Little Nas, and he was like, "No, you're going to have
put an X on there."
People will think you're my illegitimate
son. Yeah, exactly. So cool. All right, thank you. Bye.
See ya.